Hey, what's up, listener? Thanks for pressing play. On this episode of the Jock and Nerd podcast, we break down all the recent Justice League rumors. We got another hint as to why the InHumans TV show looks like crap. Discuss whether this $10 MoviePass subscription model is going to put butts back in the theater seats. And it turns out we've been using Rotten Tomatoes wrong this whole time. Joining us is loyal listener and Super Jock and Nerd Patreon supporter, Joe Henry. Joe is both a jock, he's a nerd, and boy, does he have a lot of stories to tell. You don't want to miss this one. Plus, listener mailbag and a whole bunch more audio geeky goodness, all in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Thursday, August 17th, 2017.
Check. Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. Jockin', we nerdin'. We funny, disturbing. Jockin', we nerdin'. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah. Jockin', we nerdin'. We funny, disturbing. Oh yeah. Jockin', we nerdin'. We spoiler alert.
What's up, listener? Welcome back to another geek-filled episode of the Jock and Nerd podcast, your weekly geek fest, where we give you comic book and superhero-related news, reviews, and interviews. Jock and Nerd. It's the Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
And he's the Rug Boy. What's up, Rugs?
What's up, dudes? How's it going?
The whole crew is here, and I'm super excited for our guest for this episode. He is a loyal listener. He is a super Patreon supporter of the Jock and Nerd podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, say hello to Joe Henry. Joe, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for having me on, guys.
Thanks.
This is what happens when you donate a lot of money to the show.
So this is great. It's our first transaction like this. Joe, not only does he support us on Patreon, he is giving us the most money out of any of our supporters on Patreon. And at the tier you pick, Joe, I know you didn't even notice this when you pledged, you earned yourself a spot to come on the show and hang out. And we couldn't be, listen, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for supporting. I'm very excited to have our first super patron on the Jock and Nerd podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Imran. And, what a cool perk this is. Coming on the show, hanging out with you guys. Seriously.
So you didn't have any idea that you were going to have this perk when you went and did it?
I didn't at the time until Imran emailed me. Oh. And he's like, oh, that's one of the perks for the pledge that you're at. And I was like, that is awesome.
So you were excited about this?
Yeah, as soon as he told me that, I was like, sure, I want to come on the show and hang out with you guys. You seem like a cool bunch of people to talk with. So,
have you ever been on a podcast before?
I have not been on a podcast before, so this is my first one.
Jock and Nerd, popping podcast Jerry since 2015.
I just got to point out that prior to the show, right when I heard Joe Henry speak, I was like, holy fuck. This dude's normal.
See, we have normal listeners, Anthony.
I still don't believe it.
I'm your average Joe.
Joe, there you go.
Joe, where are you calling from?
I'm out of Tampa, Florida.
Florida, America's most fucked up state. Is that officially the logo yet? Is that on your license plates?
Have you ever looked up Florida Man?
Yes, that's one of the best Twitter accounts
That
ever.
is a real thing, and it's pretty crazy.
And those are all real stories that start with...
They are all 100% real. That's
Florida,
what makes it
man.
even crazier.
Got
Were you excited when they filmed The Punisher in Tampa?
That movie wasn't so great, but I did think it was pretty cool that they did. And,
Wait, which
there was
Punisher
a lot of
did they
places
shoot
in
there?
Tampa.
The one
that was
with-
the first one.
Oh, the Dolph Lundgren one.
What's
No.
cooler?
No,
Thomas Jane.
No, Thomas Jane.
Jane.
Dummy.
Yeah.
What's cooler, St. Petersburg or Tampa?
Tampa by far.
Yeah, all right.
I like St. Petersburg a lot, but Tampa's where I live. Definitely way cooler.
All right.
So
I just know Tampa and St. Petersburg from Bubba the Love Sponge when it used to be on.
Yes. He was
How-
good. I used to listen
the
to
mighty
him.
have fallen.
Hulk Hogan owns a home in Tampa.
Oh, man.
that's not his real name.
Terry Bollea.
No, Hulk Hogan.
Oh, that's his name is Terry Bollea.
Oh, Terry, yeah.
Terry Bollea?
Bollea, yeah, Bollea,
Yeah.
Something like that.
Terry.
Bollea.
Yeah.
I'll blow you right here. Look, if
God
you're a
damn it,
new listener,
That's what
thanks
the video was.
thanks for checking us out. Here's what we're going to do in this show. We got some geek news that we're going to discuss and get Joe's opinions on some things happening in the geek world. And then we're going to get to meet Joe. And here's some fun facts. I'm just going to tease a couple of things that we may talk about. Fun facts about Joe. He used to be an EDM DJ, Anthony, for many years.
Cool.
He spent time with two of the terrorists that hit the World Trade Center. Half an hour.
Yes.
I want to find out what that is.
That was crazy. That's a
Wow,
crazy
that's
story.
that just took a real serious. You can't
Right?
just drop that, Imran, right in the middle. Then we're
just
going to
wait.
talk. How are we supposed to move on from that to geek stuff, things that don't actually fucking matter?
I'll
you
figure
drop
it out.
that.
Don't worry. You follow my flow.
Well,
Look,
you're a fucking
I will
terrorist.
reverse it. Well, I will reverse it like this. Joe and I also share something in common. Listener, Joe also has vitiligo. Oh shit! Believe it or not.
Whoa.
I do. A very, very minor case of it, but I definitely have it.
I believe vitiligo is now officially America's favorite skin disorder. Can anybody tell me why?
I don't know.
Because it makes everyone whiter.
Oh.
That's why it's America's favorite skin disorder.
Shit.
Whoa.
Look, all I know is I'm glad I look white right now, people. Let me tell you, I'm a Pakistani that looks white.
Surely you can't be serious. I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Before we get to the news, I got to shout out our guest on the last show. Mike
Jeez,
Rips.
that was a guest.
Oh, boy, was he a guest. High energy, had a great time hanging out with Mike Rips, and he gave us a nice shout out on his latest episode of his podcast called the Tarantulas, and I'll put a link in the show notes.
Kill all monsters. That's my favorite.
He even brought that up.
Yeah. No, he knew he was saying wrong shit at the time, so he says that in the show. He goes, "I was."
Let me ask you guys something.
yeah.
Though. Let me ask you guys something.
He really wanted to know our opinions.
What do you guys think about that Keanu Reeves movie where he's a vampire?
I appreciate the Bram Stoker's Dracula plug for some reason. But look, check out the last episode. Mike Rips was he's quite a character. Yes, that was the very first thing he says. It's a tongue roll. But we'll definitely. I want to say thanks.
Listen, you're quoting it. It's, so, it's an unreal episode.
That's how classic it is, and I want to get him on again where he's sitting down and he's focused and he's got his equipment, and he was at his friend's house in the closet on the phone. So but it was a very entertaining show. Despite all that, all right, guys, let's get to the news.
The Jock and Nerd Podcast.
Listener, if you want to reach us, if you want to get in touch with us, if you want to call me out for something wrong I said, because I say wrong shit all the time, completely nonsense shit, I'm trying to get a reaction, just visit jockandnerd.com/contact for all the ways.
You're not trying to get a reaction. You don't know what you're saying. Don't misinterpret it. Don't try to represent it as something you're trying to do. You're not trying to do that.
You're saying that he has no idea what's coming out of his mouth.
No.
He's saying.
Yes,
Oh,
that's exactly what I'm
It's
saying.
not even a thought process. It's
No.
just automatic.
Exactly.
no filter.
It's automatic.
Yeah.
It's just shit.
That is a correct assessment, my friend. You know me well. But visit our website, jockandnerd.com. You'll find all the ways you can subscribe to the show. Show notes for this show, jockandnerd.com/182, so you can play along. Let's get into it. We're going to start with some DCEU news regarding, the Justice League. And, man, I really...
Oh, my favorite.
I know, dude. The more every week, I really feel for the fans of this franchise because they just want good movies. They want their movies to be loved like Marvel movies, yet there is a shitstorm around every movie, every time, every week.
No, they don't even know that they're so far deep into this. They don't even know that there's a shitstorm happening.
Then there's a shitstorm coming. So I want to start with first some comments Ben Affleck said about Justice League in terms of the director situation. Where Zack Snyder had a family tragedy, had to step away. Joss Whedon steps in to reshoot, but then word comes out that it's costing $25 million. It's taken a month and a half. It's expansive. The film is unwatchable. The first cut. Ben actually said this. He said it's a little bit unorthodox for this. He said that it was an interesting product of two directors, both with kind of unique visions, both with really strong takes. I've never had that experience before making a movie. I have to say, I really love working with Zach, and I really love the stuff we've done with Joss. So I don't know if this is already some damage control on his part.
Well, Affleck knows what to say.
Affleck does know what to say.
It's like a true politician right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
The first thing I think of, so I'm going to make a sports reference for all the sports people out there.
Jock it up.
Cleveland Cavaliers, you heard of him? LeBron James?
Well, I might have heard of him.
Okay. His co-star, Kyrie Irving, prior to him requesting a trade, said about the Cavaliers front office that it was very peculiar. Similar kind of verbiage here. He used peculiar to describe what was going on. And then like 2 weeks later, it comes out that he wants to leave. Ben Affleck going, this is interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think that's exactly a vote of confidence of what's going on here.
I thought those words were very
interesting.
An interesting product. That's not. Joe, you've been following all this, Ben Affleck. I'm sure you've seen all the rumors, what he said at Comic-Con. Do you think he's going to be Batman after Justice League?
You know, I think one of you guys brought this up in one of the previous podcasts. I think it all depends on how this Justice League movie does.
Yeah.
I think the execs are probably... I think he does want to do it, just like he's saying. I think he's being honest. But I think if the movie does well, I think the execs are going to push for it. And if it does bad, then maybe they'll rethink things.
I mean, I also think there's the pressure of if he does want to do it, he may have to sign on for a trilogy.
I mean,
with Matt Reeves.
The smart money is to like not do anything and wait, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's what he's doing.
And I mean, the studio also, you know, they're also absent, and they're kind of not saying anything. Also, which is very interesting. But so
interesting. There's the word.
There's that word, interesting. So
drink. Have a shot.
Every time we say interesting. Screen Rant though has this great article breaking down all the reshoots, rumors, what was and wasn't changed. The first rumor here was that they remade the Justice League twice. Came out in May from Splash Report, claiming Justice League had already undergone numerous reshoots. At the point, the movie would essentially have been remade twice. But the Wrap was quick to put these rumors to bed with a more reliable source saying there has been no additional photography to date on Justice League. We have planned and will shoot additional pickups early summer. Additional photography has always been planned, like most pictures in general, but certainly for a tentpole, a Justice League size and scope. I don't know if it's possible for them to be able, with the scheduling of all these people, to reshoot this thing twice. So the second rumor was that the reshoots were changing the focus to Wonder Woman, which would make a lot of sense after the success of Wonder Woman.
That's so crazy.
But then John Berg, who's one of the producers, weighed in on this to clarify that Wonder Woman's role in Justice League was always going to be a major focus, and that the success affirmed that decision. So I don't know if it's backpedaling, they're trying to save face. Then we have the third rumor about Henry Cavill's mustache. Scheduling conflicts. Cavill shooting Mission Impossible 6 with a mustache. The reshoot's costing $25 to $30 million and several months. Now, what's interesting about this is that Tom Cruise just broke his ankle on the set of Mission Impossible 6, I believe.
Right.
Which may push that production back. In that case, Cavill may be able to shave his mustache off and grow it back.
So stupid.
In time.
This is so stupid.
But they're literally going to be wasting money digitally.
It's really like all about the mustache right now. You think that he just hit Tom Cruise with like a lead pipe? Like
he did.
Nancy
He fucking
Kerrigan,
Nancy Kerrigan, Tom Cruise. Oh no! He's like, I need to buy some time. What do I do? Whack. Joe, you like Superman with or without a mustache? What's your preference?
Man, if they have to CGI out that mustache, I'm going to be staring at his upper lip
Me too.
the entire movie.
Look at me like it's twitching. Why is it twitching?
It's not going to look right, even with CGI.
Like that Green Lantern mask that floats all over his face.
Yes, it's going to be. Although I would love to see like a '70s porn Superman style. You know, that could work.
Like a Tom Selleck style.
Yeah, a little Tom Selleck style Superman. So next,
doesn't everybody?
This is more recent rumor. The Joss Whedon reshoots to lighten the movie and particularly Cyborg's part in the movie. And Joe Morton actually confirms this, the guy who plays his dad. He says, I think I heard that there was a need from the studio to lighten up the film in a way that the film felt too dark. And he says that they did do a lot of reshoots with Cyborg. They're brief, if anything. Zach picked a great director to help clean up for us.
Well, let me interject here.
Yeah.
You guys remember that trailer in the movie for Batman versus Superman for the Justice League?
Yes. Oh, yeah. The middle part that had nothing to do with
the
anything.
part where he sends Wonder Woman the files where he designed logos for all of them.
Yes.
Cyborg's little clip was like, if you guys remember, like the more horrific of all of them. It was like his body.
He was screaming.
He's screaming. It's like just like his lung and his like face.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was the tone it seemed like they were going to try to carry into this, and I agree that should be lightened up a little bit. I don't think it needs to be that serious.
It says here Zack Snyder had previously emphasized Cyborg's role as the heart of Justice League. And now, like with Wonder Woman being popular, I'm wondering who is really going to be.
That's got to be Wonder Woman,
It's
right?
got to be Wonder Woman. Nobody knows anything about Cyborg. His movie is still on track.
Cyborgs?
For 2020, they said.
Are they still doing it? I thought that Comic-Con didn't list that.
They didn't list it, but somebody said that, we're still, but I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Joe, what do you think of the Cyborg's look in these trailers?
I think he looks pretty good.
Yeah. I think the CGI has been getting a little bit better. He seemed early on, it seemed a little bit.
I'm going to have to disagree with Joe. I think he looks terrible.
Well, it's not that it's getting better. It's we've already acquiesced to what he looks like. That's what it is. Like,
I think
we're used to it.
I think like he looks like Megatron with an African American face.
He's a mushy Transformers style armor kind of going on there.
I mean, it's still early, so there's probably going to be a lot more tweaking with the special effects.
I feel like this movie's been in production for like 5 years.
I know, like every week, like
going on?
Like how long can they rework this movie? The next rumor is that Joss Whedon was hired to make Justice League lighter, like we said, but to replace the ending, which is another interesting thing. Ding, ding, ding. There's that word, because Steppenwolf is going to be the villain, and then a lot of people were expecting Darkseid to show up at the end.
Yeah.
Is he taking Darkseid out? I still think Steppenwolf is a weird villain to have because nobody knows who the fuck Steppenwolf is to begin with.
Oh my god! You should look up Steppenwolf in the cartoon of like the actual wolf comes up.
Oh,
I think of Magic Carpet Ride.
Yes, I think of Magic Carpet Ride, and what's another song? They had a couple
Born
of
to Be Wild.
Born to Be Wild. Steppenwolf. Born to Be Wild.
It's such a fucking mess. Here's the thing. There's no point in doing Steppenwolf if you're not doing Darkseid later.
Right.
But they didn't. Darkseid was always going to be like, well, wait, you're just copying Thanos. Because that was always going to be like, wait, it's the same shit.
Yeah.
Even though Darkseid came first.
Yes.
So, but then they decided they're not doing a 2-part movie, and they're totally going away from what Snyder planned. So now you're just stuck with Steppenwolf. And I don't know. That just seems stupid too. Like who? No one knows who Steppenwolf is.
I
That's
remember
super deep.
Steppenwolf from an action figure ad from a long time ago. I just remember they used to have like the Batman and Superman toys from Kenner, and there was a Steppenwolf toy. That's where I know him from. I never even seen him in a comic book. I just know him from the toy, and that's from like a long fucking time ago, where most of the people are not even alive back then. So they listen to the show. So it's probably not the right guy.
Not the right guy.
Well, the thing is
all.
they were planning for this to be a 2-part movie, and now they're apparently holding back a little bit and seeing how this is going to do. So then it would be stupid to tease a villain that you might not make a movie for. So I get what they're kind of doing. It's just they dug themselves into a hole with Steppenwolf. And you got parademons coming. Like parademons are coming. Mother boxes. That's all Darkseid stuff.
Joe, what do you think of like the last trailers that came out? It showed a little bit more of a lighter tone. There were some jokes, but to me, it still looks like it's going to be a bunch of action scenes, just like barely stitched together with no like through line, kind of like Batman versus Superman.
And that's the problem. You have to have a good story mixed in with all of that. They did a pretty decent job with Wonder Woman. That's been the only really good movie so far. I mean, personally, I did like Man of Steel a lot. I know it's got some mixed reviews. That's probably my second favorite one.
Yeah.
But
you had a lot to choose from.
Yeah, out of the 4. Yeah.
But I mean, what are they going to do with this one? It seems like all the executives they don't really know where they're going with the story. They don't seem to have a plan with it.
No.
And now you've got 2 different directors that really contrast each other.
Yes.
And, I don't have any problems with, a darker tone. It doesn't have to be exactly like Marvel. but you need to pick one or the other, and trying to rework it now, like, I hope this movie doesn't turn out to be a mess.
I mean, in a perfect world, Zack Snyder's action with Joss Whedon's character and, a conversational aesthetic, that would make a great movie. Problem is, how long has Joss actually been working on this? Maybe they didn't tell us, or is he coming in last minute and reshooting the whole fucking thing?
I don't know if he's doing he can't be doing the whole thing.
No, it's just going to be a mess.
Ideal world, you would have seen Snyder's version. Granted, I don't have confidence in it, but that's ideally what you have wanted to see. You don't want this, where you got this weird mismatch of directors and now tones and now studio interference, because they're looking at Wonder Woman and how that did and how Batman v Superman did, and now they're like, well, let's change it to focus on Wonder Woman. Like that's not what you want in this whole movie.
Well, I want to step in and say, we've heard like bad press and people slamming movies before. Like Wonder Woman there was a big thing about Wonder Woman sucking balls.
Yeah. Right. That was a mess. Someone said early on. Right.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of this movie's a mess and blah, blah, blah. And now with Batman versus Superman, it ended up being true. With Man of Steel, it ended up being like, okay, there was a misfire there. But like it wasn't like as bad on a level of Batman versus Superman with all these dream sequences and no narrative. So hopefully they learned their lesson from doing that kind of story, and maybe they just want to lighten it up a little bit. It could be a mess. It could be a huge fucking mess, but maybe it's not. We don't really know yet.
We don't know. And here's the other thing: is Zack Snyder?
It'll be better than Batman v Superman.
Oh,
I think so.
It can't be worse.
Just the trailers alone are better.
Yes, yes. The Snyder actually still has creative control, so he can veto anything that they do, and Warner Brothers has to let him.
Really?
Yes, according to it says. I
don't know if they would give a director that much power.
Well, I think he's also part producer.
That's true.
It says Snyder remains in control, meaning if he actually intended to override whatever lightened movie Snyder was making, Warner Brothers would be in clear violation of the DGA. And Toby Emmerich went out of his way to specify continued involvement from the Snyder. So in that sense, I think he wants to see the movie to the end. And then the sixth rumor the newest one is that an early cut was unwatchable. And this is why they've called for these extensive reshoots. But the writer specifies that this cut was from October 2016, right after the end of principal photography, which means there's no effects in there, sound effects. So he could be saying that it was unwatchable because it was unfinished.
Yeah, who knows?
But Hollywood Reporter reported that on that screening, Zack Snyder left the project specifying Zack wasn't satisfied and brought Joss Whedon in to write additional scenes. So we'll see what
October 2016.
Yeah. This movie.
Wait, that doesn't make any sense. The timeline makes absolutely no sense.
That's when they finished. They were done with photography and they had a cut.
He brought in Whedon in October of 2016.
I don't know if he means then, but it could be. It could be that Joss was working on this the whole time and just we didn't know. Or they were thinking about it, or they were in conversation. But
that one seems a little weird.
What happens when you shoot a movie is basically, as the footage is coming out, the daily, especially digital, if it's film or whatever, as soon as it gets processed, it goes right to the editor, and the editor starts putting an assembly together that's based on the script.
Right.
And it's just a rough assembly. Like there's all other shots that they can use, blah blah blah. But the editor tries to put together the most cohesive thing, and then Joss Whedon either if he's a part of it or he gets to see it at some point and make changes to it. I think that's the cut that everybody's talking about, the first assembly. And if it was unwatchable, that's when they go back and do reshoot.
Well, that's when you're like, oh, we need this. We got to add this.
Yes.
I'm going to need one of these. Let's ask Joss what he thinks. What can you add here? What are your thoughts? So.
Yeah, that's like the embryo stage of a film.
What a shitstorm, and the shitstorm only gets bigger with Ben Affleck's stupid brother Casey Affleck saying some shit. Now I don't know if he was fucking around or he didn't know. Basically, Casey Affleck on a radio interview in Boston said that Ben is not going to do the Batman. I don't think. Sorry to say. Then he's like, wait, is that breaking news? Because I was just kind of making that up. I don't know. Kind of backpedaling. And then Casey's reps had to come out and say Casey Affleck was having fun with the folks at the Red Sox game where he threw out the first pitch in support of the Jimmy Fund and not speaking from a place of firsthand knowledge. he'll continue, and then confirmation from Ben's rep saying he'll continue to be Batman as long as the studio will have him. But this is weird because, look, these guys are brothers. You would imagine they hang out, they talk. Now, either Casey Affleck is
He absolutely knows. But I don't think Ben Affleck actually knows what he's doing yet.
Okay, so you think Casey
That's my
was just
point.
fucking around with the
I
media?
think that he knows his game plan, and I think he's reading the tea leaves. I think he's like, this movie looks like it's going to suck balls, and if it does, then Ben's out. So that's. I think he was making a little conjecture right there.
So you think Affleck was speaking from just what he observed? Casey was.
Yeah.
What he observed. Because I was like, is he fucking with the media? And then Ben Affleck did come out and just mention that this Batman is going to have a more comic booky Batman in Justice League instead of the revenge-obsessed Batman we saw in Batman versus Superman.
Right.
So he's like, we're going to have a much more traditional Batman.
Spending a lot of time on this.
Dude, with all these rumors, we'll end it with this. Joe, what are your hopes for this movie? What?
The Justice League movie?
Yes.
I hope it's good, and I have to say, if anybody could pull this mess of a movie together, it's going to be Joss Whedon.
Yeah.
The guy's a great director. He knows how to make ensembles work. I think he's going to be able to pull it off. Is it going to be a great movie? Maybe. I hope. But I think it at least won't be a bad movie. That's going to be my hopes.
I mean, having Joss there, just the prospect of Joss Whedon being there is exciting. But
Can you believe we've had now Joss Whedon?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if he'll get the full direct. He probably won't get the full.
yeah, who's going to
directing
get the credit? That's the other thing I was wondering.
He'll have directed Justice League and Avengers, and you'll have had J.J. Abrams do Star Trek and Star Wars.
Wow. Wow. That's pretty
That's a good
crazy.
point.
Just two
That's a good
guys
point.
running it.
Oh, shit, man. Two guys who know their shit. So, give them all the trust and the faith. But yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to be there front row for this train wreck. It's turning into one of those movies.
Really, I don't think that's a great scene, Imran.
No. Well, your neck hurts after a while.
Yeah,
You got to look up a lot.
And you don't really have much of a neck.
No, I
either.
don't. I'm all torso. I'm all short torso. And, shit. Tiny torso, long legs.
Like SpongeBob.
Exactly. My belt is right below my nipples if you ever see me in person.
Oh, if you've seen him walk around the office with his fucking shirt tucked in, oh my God. His
You
belt
gotta
is
wear a
little.
yellow shirt and brown pants. And
Listen, I come from short torso
his
jeans.
waistline is at his nips. It has to be.
Pakistanis aren't known for their long torsos. Let me tell you. It's just it's genetic. What can I tell you? Okay, let's talk about Fox's crazy, stupid, and non-Spider-Man universe.
Sony.
Sony.
Oh, this is even worse.
Silver and Black, the movie that's going to be about the Black Cat and Silver Sable.
Oh, my God.
We have some plot details and a release date.
Oh.
So this is what the movie is going to be, the gist of it. Felicia Hardy, also known as the Black Cat, is going to wind up being hunted by Mendel Strom when she steals something of his using what's described as an enhancement. This puts Silver Sable, who's a mercenary, on her tail because of the lethal mercenary hopes Hardy will lead her to Strom, who has been performing some kind of experiments on the Semkarian people, which is the country Silver Sable comes from. The two then decide to put their differences aside and team up to stop Strom and his cronies Scorpion and Tarantula.
Oh.
And I don't know if it's going to be the guy from Homecoming. It probably will be.
I don't think it will be.
So the way this plays, it seems like Silver Sable is the main protagonist of the
It's
story.
a thief and a mercenary
It's a
story.
thief and a mercenary. Black Cat is more of the secondary of the story. And this is they said this is coming out. What's this date here?
2019, right?
all right, so basically what you have here is a female starring movie with two female heroines that are the main leads.
Yep. Yep.
Wait, there's one quick point before you finish, Ruggs. They're releasing this, I think, a month prior to when Captain Marvel comes out. So they're trying to build up that buzz of female-led superhero films.
February 8th,
Superhero.
2019 is when this is coming out.
Absolutely. So they could capitalize on that. Now, who would they get to be Silver Sable and Black Cat? And how sexy they look in their outfits and what they do and if they tone them down or not. I don't know. This could it could be really like cheesy and fun, or it could be kind of milquetoast, which is what I'm predicting.
And I mean, are they going to go rated R like Venom, or are they going to go PG-13? They have a director. Joe, hearing what this movie's about, the fact that these are secondary Spider-Man characters and there's no Spider-Man, are you interested in this at all? Does this pique your interest to watch this movie?
Oh man, this is going to be so hard to pull off.
Right?
I just see this being a bomb. I don't want it to be because I'm a big comic book movie fan. But, I mean, you got to have a small budget.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to cast it perfectly. The story's got to be right. So many things have to go right for this movie to make money. Because who cares about
nobody?
Black Cat and Sable? Who cares about them? Except for, they got to have a small budget.
Like hardcore Spider-Man fans.
If they look really cool, if they look really cool, then people will, just for the cosplay aspect of it, will check it out, or it'll get buzz on it.
And I mean, how much in the marketing do you even play up? From the pages of Spider-Man or do you even mention it?
I think you have to play that up.
Yes. I think you have to have fucking Tom Holland in the movie in some aspect, or at least a stunt double in the suit.
As I was saying, like the thing about Silver Sable and Black Cat is that they're both very sexy characters.
Yes.
And they're going to take, they could either, I don't really see, who's doing this movie? Fox?
Sony.
I don't really see them getting that sexy with their stuff. I really don't see them like doing that. They're gonna suck all the fun out of it.
Joe is right. You have to cast this just perfectly, and the story has to be perfect. And the other movie, Venom, the R-rated movie, that's an even crazier question. How the fuck are you going to pull this off? This came off in the Hollywood Reporter. Joining Tom Hardy there, looking at Riz Ahmed to join this movie. And Riz Ahmed, who was just in Rogue One, who's great in that, and he's great in The Night Of. We really don't know who he's playing. People have speculated Carnage, which I think is weird, but the guess that I like, that makes more sense, is possibly the Chameleon.
Yeah.
He could play. But just the cast power for Venom, Tom Hardy, and now you're going to have Riz Ahmed, but I don't understand how you're going to do this. Joe, you a Venom fan at all?
You know, I love that whole Venom storyline. I do kind of want to see this movie. I'm hoping really hard that this doesn't suck, though.
This is going to be another one that's like, how do you do this?
Tom Hardy's a great actor.
Yes.
I hope they don't waste him on this movie because it has potential. We'll have to see.
I have three thoughts.
Yeah.
I still won't believe that Sony is actually making these movies
until they start shooting.
Because I kind of agree with what Molosky brought up. Is I think Sony is just posturing to say we have these things in the works so that they can eventually sell their movie division. That's number one.
Yeah.
Number two, I don't think a Venom movie gets made unless Tom Hardy was cast.
Yeah.
So if they didn't cast Tom Hardy, I think they'd be like, I don't know about this. And number three, more so than my opinion than the Silver Sable Black Cat movie, Silver and Black, Venom without Spider-Man is really fucking weird.
Yes.
Because Venom is, that's like...
He's anti-Spider-Man.
He's like Green Goblin.
Yes.
Like he's Spider-Man's arch nemesis besides Green Goblin.
He's literally opposite Spider-Man.
You're missing a huge part of the story.
Right. You don't do a Red Skull movie without Cap.
Yes.
You don't do a Joker movie without Batman. Like, This is fucking weird.
Yeah.
It's very weird. And
Very good points. The
other two are not tied to Spider-Man as much. So you're good. I mean, you're right. Venom is like, you're basically cutting him off at the legs right there.
And just creating a new character at this point. Now, I think
they might go, this is my theory. I think they might go Flash Thompson, military veteran. Venom,
and just skip over Eddie Brock.
And just skip over Eddie Brock.
Man, I would love to see.
He's this military vet that's like a paraplegic. And now gets the Venom symbiote. And
where does that come from?
I don't know. I don't know. You need Spider-Man. That's
fucking Spider-Man. I would love to see Spider-Man in an R-rated movie. That's also would be crazy.
Are they doing? Is this a confirmed R?
I believe this is supposed to be R-rated. This thing.
They have Carnage, right? Because it has to be.
I mean, they want it to be like a dark, violent movie. They're going to start shooting this soon. This is next October. This fucking thing comes out. And so that's that's kind of soon. I mean, a little over a year. They got to start shooting.
You would start shooting pretty soon.
Yeah, you got to start shooting this thing. But boy, I don't have hopes for either of these. And I'm just morbidly curious as to what this movie is going to be. Both of these. Sony, I don't know what you're doing over there. Let's talk about Godzilla a little bit. Now, Godzilla, he's a very kind of a niche fandom, as we've talked about on the show with the G-Fest. Joe Henry, you into the Godzilla at all?
I I've watched a lot of their movies. I still have not seen Shin Godzilla yet. With all that you guys been talking about it, I need to watch it. But I used to watch all the original ones as a kid when it came on TV, and I loved them. I thought they were great.
Yeah.
Cool.
This guy's
See?
awesome.
Joe's the best, dude. He's an awesome listener.
He's the fucking best. Ron, you're off.
Okay,
Hey,
I'm
Joe,
done.
you're the
Take
host.
over. He's the new nerd. We're similar in age and generation. We have a lot of shared things.
And he has a torso.
And he's got a taller torso than I am. I'll have to raise the mic up a little bit for you, Joe. But
Well, if torsos help me qualify,
Yes.
then I'm in there.
all you need is a torso to be a member of this podcast, listener. If you have a torso, you're in. Godzilla 2 director Michael Dougherty. This is the the sequel to the first Godzilla from, was it 2014? Just made an announcement to all Godzilla fans out there. Be on the lookout for Easter eggs. The director tweeted an image today that should be recognizable to fans of the 1954 original Godzilla. So this picture, it says day 41, and it's a device. It's got two round ends with a little nipple and bars, and there's
Rugs, have you seen
a
it?
round circle
Yeah, I know what it
in
is.
the middle.
Okay.
For those
I was
that
gonna
don't
let you-
know, you
let
guys,
you tell us what it
Rugs,
is.
What is this thing?
It's the oxygen destroyer.
The
Dun, dun,
oxygen
dun.
destroyer. Oh, shit.
It's the weapon that Serizawa makes, who's the scientist in the original movie, that destroys Godzilla. Like, he throws it in the water, and it basically turns everything in the water like into like it disperses the molecules.
Oh, it dissipates them and just destroys
and
everything.
It basically fries anything that's in the water. So that's what they used to kill the first Godzilla.
Cool. I don't know if this is going to be in the background of the movie, just like a nod, or if it'll be part of it. But what do you guys think as Godzilla fans of this little nod to the original?
If they use it, well, the way it was used in 1954, it was to kill Godzilla. And then it's been referenced in another movie called Godzilla vs. Destoroyah. If you pronounce it the way it's phonetically spelled.
Good pronunciation.
Destoroyah.
Destoroyah.
Yeah. And Destoroyah is created from remnants of that oxygen destroyer, whatever that fuck that. It's too convoluted to explain, but it's basically he is a living embodiment of an oxygen destroyer.
Cool. This is in the sequel. This is the one that's going to have all the Mothra and the Rodan and the King.
Yeah, it's going to
Ghidorah.
have all the
so-
monsters.
Cool.
I don't know. I think that if they use it, they have to use it to try and kill Godzilla. So if he dies in the second movie, that's not good.
Or it's just sitting in the background and it's like, oh, look, there's the thing. Isn't that
Or maybe they point to go, we tried to use this and it didn't work. We thought it worked, but it didn't. Or we got one of them with one of these, but we don't know the technology.
Joe, what's your favorite Godzilla movie?
Man,
I can
Kill
pick-
all monsters.
I believe it's Destroy All Monsters, you nerd.
God, I forget some of the names of them because I haven't seen them in so many years.
If you just describe a scene, me or Ruggs
They'll
will
know.
be able to
Yeah.
tell you.
Man, I love some of the ones where, you see Godzilla teaming up with some of the other monsters like Mothra. But one of the cool ones that always comes back to me was there was one guy and he turned into this robot.
That's
guy.
Jaguar.
Everyone loves that movie. It always comes up.
I don't know. I just always thought that was kind of
Godzilla
cool.
versus Megalon.
Megalon,
That was,
yeah.
I mean, yeah. There was the Mechazilla one where it was like the Robotzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. The original one.
Those were all great. Those were all great.
Those are from that era where they were in really pro wrestling tag team ish.
Well, it's for kids. It was for little kids
and
to
I-
watch.
I've seen all the newer ones except for Shin Godzilla, and they're okay. But they just, I don't know. They kind of miss some things that the originals had. So
Yeah.
Well, Toho has new Godzilla content coming out, and this time it's their first animated Godzilla feature, Godzilla Monster Planet. It's going to be on Netflix in November, and we had a little teaser. They just released the first full-length trailer and a poster that gives you a really good look at this Godzilla design. Did you guys get a chance to check out this trailer?
Oh, I've seen it.
You seen the trailer? It's in Japanese.
Yeah.
But it looks sick, dude. The animation looks really awesome. The action looks cool, and I kind of dig this giant hulking Godzilla design. This is it's in the future. The Earth is covered in monsters, and there's spaceships firing at Godzilla. Pretty cool. Anthony, what'd you think of this trailer?
It looks good. I mean, it's basically all the things from all the different eras of Godzilla. The monsters, the spaceships. That's all different aspects of Godzilla, with the American looking design.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Ruggs, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I'm interested to see how much Godzilla's in this movie, because they're still kind of hiding him.
Yeah, he
a little
doesn't
bit.
show up till the very end of the trailer also.
And that's what I don't understand. When you're doing an animated movie, the budgets doesn't matter because, like, you're not trying to integrate special effects all in the same sandbox. So it doesn't cost you more to do a Godzilla shot than it does anything else once you have created the model.
Once you've rendered it. Good point.
Yeah, so I want to, hopefully that we see the most Godzilla screen time that we've ever seen in a movie, or at least, like, enough to be satisfying.
Joe, did you get a chance to check out this trailer?
I did. I'm in.
Yeah, you like it?
Give me sci-fi. Give me Godzilla. I love the premise. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Do you watch anime at all, or is that something that you're
Yes.
into?
Yeah, I love anime. I love anime.
Okay, cool.
Joe watches everything. Holy
I
shit.
I saw the original Ghost in the Shell,
Yes.
like when it first came out on VHS. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I loved it. So I saw the Scarlett Johansson version too.
Anthony, that's that square thing with the white holes in it. There's 2 white circles. And
What are you referring to? VHS?
Yeah.
You're a moron. I grew up with VHS.
I'm kidding. I'm talking to him like he's 16 years old. I'm a fucking asshole.
I'm almost 30.
Damn it, I need younger people on the show. My jokes aren't landing. No, I'm psyched about this Godzilla. I'm going to check it out. Moving on to something that looks like crap.
Can I tell a quick VHS story?
Oh, sure.
So when I was a child,
Yes.
you stick the tape in and like you look at the cover and it's like, oh, Godzilla, and you stick the tape in and a Godzilla film appears.
Yeah.
And you stick a X-Men tape in, X-Men appear.
Yeah.
So then I had a lollipop.
Okay.
And I was like,
What if I stick
I
this
stick
in?
this lollipop in there. Well, more lollipops appear. So suffice to say, I stuck a lollipop in the VCR and I broke
And now
my
we need
parents'
a new VCR, you little
Yeah.
shit.
My head is basically like, you little fucking shit. What is
Dad-
wrong with you?
Your mom's trying to watch Dynasty, and she said, who put the fucking lollipop in the VCR?
But as a kid, you're like, oh, wait, could I get more lollipops?
I mean, your logic is pretty solid. Like, I was
Yeah.
probably, I still think that would happen. What if I
I
shoved
think,
this in? I shoved in 100
Because when you stuck a tape in the VCR, you barely had to push it in. You would like
just sucked it
tap
in.
it, and it would suck in.
like,
Yeah, it was the
whoa.
most amazing thing.
Good old VHS.
Yeah, those are the days.
I want to quickly talk about the shitty Inhumans show
fuck.
because we're 2 weeks away from this thing premiering in IMAX September 1st, and then it's going to be on TV. And the reason why it looks cheap is because it was filmed as quickly and cheaply as it looks, confirmed by the director. Director Roel Rainey talked about why Marvel hired him for the job. He says, I think they like me for the job because I was able, with my action movies, to shoot in a very short time or with very low budgets, action that looks like a big budget movie.
What movies did he direct?
We'll have to look that up. It was not a
What's his
feature
name?
film. Roel Rainey.
I'll look them up while
okay.
you talk about them.
He says it was not a feature film. It was a TV episode, but they still wanted to have the scope. The schedule was super tight. I had TV schedule time to shoot it with IMAX cameras, 20 days to shoot 2 episodes. It's nerve-wracking, but I come from a low-budget film world, so 20 days for me is a luxury.
Ugh.
He continued. He did not mention whether underexposed promotional photos with terrible wigs were also considered a luxury. Joe,
Oh my god, he's directed the worst movies I've ever
Okay,
seen.
so
I'm looking at the
what has he
movies too.
directed?
Like, just anything that he's touched has been dog shit.
So, like, it's literally all been sequels of terrible movies. So,
Oh, no.
for instance, The Marine 2, which is the sequel to The Marine with John Cena.
Yes.
Death Race
There's not
2.
one good movie on here.
Scorpion King 3.
Oh, crap.
12 Rounds, Part 2. The Condemned, Part 2. And The Man with the Iron Fist, Part 2.
Oh, he's made sequels to things people don't give a
Hard
shit
target,
about.
too.
All straight
I
to
tried
video.
to watch that, and it was so terrible. The only thing that's good
Yeah.
is probably Black Sails, and he only did 1 episode. They didn't want him back
They're
after he
like,
did
fuck you. Plus, we got Scott Buck, who fucked up Iron Fist show running this fucking
Oh, my
piece
God.
of shit. He also
Wow.
said there was always a Marvel executive around me just to make sure that whatever I did or whatever we did together would tie in with other characters in other universes, in other comics, in other series or movies, Renee said. They're very protective. These people are very passionate about their product and about characters and about doing the best version of everything. He said, I heard of all these horror stories of working with Marvel, but I didn't feel that way. Joe, what do you think of the Inhumans trailer and footage we've seen so far?
I don't know.
That's a correct response.
Man.
Are you a fan of the Inhumans at all in any form?
I never really read any of their comics. I haven't really seen them. They were, mentioned in the Shield TV
Agents
show.
of Shield, yes.
Agents of
Yeah.
Shield. They had them in that a little bit. This doesn't sound like it's a recipe for success,
No, it
does it?
doesn't. No, it doesn't. And like, how embarrassing is it going to be when nobody goes to see this in IMAX and make no money?
All the movies he's directed are like
Holy shit!
sequels with
Yes.
WWE wrestlers in the lead.
And they're like, it says video next to all of them.
Oh,
They're
yeah,
all
that too.
straight to video.
Yeah. Why did they hire this guy?
This is
I
terrible.
just-
I don't know. This whole thing is doomed. Look, there's this saying, and I think it applies here. There's three things you can have when you're making something. It could be good, it could be fast, and it could be cheap. Now, you can only utilize two of those three things at any one time. Meaning, if you want it fast and cheap, it's not going to be good. If you want it good and fast, it ain't going to be cheap. If you want it cheap and good, it's not going to be fast. It looks like they went for the fast and cheap, which means it ain't going to be.
That's good. Did you come up with that?
No, I've heard that actually when.
Oh.
But that doesn't
in
make
terms of
sense.
content.
Like, if that was the case, that they would just every movie would take 2 years to make because you could save a shitload of money.
Well, in comparison, this was filmed in 20 days?
Yes, 20
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
to shoot 2 episodes. That's going to be this movie. So, wow, what a disaster. So, this is going to be great. This is going to be great when this thing comes out. Let's talk about something Marvel makes on TV.
I'll say this.
Yes.
I think they didn't realize that how much backlash Iron Fist would get when they decided Scott Buck would be the
Yeah.
showrunner for this. And then
Yeah.
once they did, they were like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
this is bad.
Yeah.
I want to know what this guy did to get the show.
He must have
Like how
dirt
did
on
they
someone.
put their faith on a network TV show on a fucking major network?
Did they run out of money?
Or a direct-to-TV,
Yeah.
direct-to-video director.
like and doing the shittiest movies of all time.
And I believe, wouldn't they have a bigger budget than like Netflix to
like this
spend
is
on
when
this?
when I talk about shitty movies, we're talking about like Rotten Tomatoes. Like these are the shitty movies that I'm
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah.
These are the real shitty movies
These are the-
that should get like a 10 and like a 15 and 18. His movies. Look these up.
Yes.
and then you know what a
These
20
are
is.
the true shitty movies. But, okay, fuck the Inhumans. Let's talk about the most exciting thing that's hitting Netflix. Listener, by the time this show posts, it'll be out. You may have watched some of it. You may have watched all of it. You may have watched none of it. I'm talking about The Defenders. Geek Boner. On Netflix, premiering tomorrow. We're recording on the day before. Joe, how excited are you for The Defenders on Netflix?
I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. I am not completely caught up. That is my plan, is to finish up a couple of series I haven't finished. But
What do you need to you need to finish Iron Fist?
Iron Fist is a tough one.
Iron Fist, I haven't even started yet because of the comments you guys have made on it. I'm not looking forward to it.
It's
and
rough.
My friends told me about it, and I got about halfway through Luke Cage, and as soon as Cottonmouth died, it just I lost interest. I need to get back to it to finish it up.
Let me spoil some
things.
things for you, but not really. You're about to get to the shitty portion of Marvel on Netflix.
Yes, which is the back half
Which
of
is
Luke
the back-
Cage
yeah,
and
yes.
all of Iron Fist.
Yes.
You got to work through that.
That's what you guys were saying on the show when you were reviewing it, and that kind of made me lose some interest. I'm still going to go back and watch it, but
Yeah,
I'm not
I
looking
feel you, man.
forward to it.
I'm a completist too. I had to watch everything.
Defenders really has a lot of work. It's got to redeem Iron Fist. First of all, they put out a couple of final trailers. There's one with Sigourney Weaver with a lot of her dialogue, and it's just cool seeing someone like Sigourney Weaver and all of them, and she's talking to them. Like, I got really stoked. This thing is sitting at 78% on the Rotten Tomatoes.
What did I tell you about? We're going to talk about this.
Yes.
Why are you leading with that? That's not the score to lead with.
It's not. This is what I'm going to get at.
Okay,
Sidebar. Ruggs had shared this awesome video from Screen Junkie News YouTube station called "You're Using Rotten Tomatoes Wrong." I'll put the link in the show notes. This was
Great
brilliant.
video.
Yes.
Thank you to Rug Boy.
Anthony, what does he explain? We were wrong about how Rotten Tomatoes works.
First off, everyone should watch it because I actually didn't know this. But
Yes.
the score that Rotten Tomatoes cleverly kind of hides for some reason is the average user rating, which is basically every user that or every reviewer that goes on to Rotten Tomatoes has to rate it out of 10, and then they take this rating, and then this is a much more accurate representation of what the critical consensus is of a show or a movie. And this rating for Defenders, although 78% fresh, is a 6.63
Out of 10. So,
out of 10.
So, and they actually get to decide if their review is rotten or fresh, don't they? The reviewer.
They do, yeah. We were wrong on that
Way
too.
out.
So
and
we were
Ruggs,
wrong.
you were like they should have to give a numerical thing, and they do, and it's there.
Yeah, but why? Nobody knows.
Nobody
it's there.
knows it's there.
And the thing that's even more egregious than that is that if you're on your mobile, you can't even see that.
I tried that, and this is true. You can't
Isn't
see
that
it.
crazy?
You have to set your phone to get the desktop version in order to see it.
It's not on mobile.
So in a default mobile configuration, you won't see that ever. So that's shenanigans to me.
It is. I agree with you. I think the number is correct. 78% is correct in that 78% of the reviewers like it, but it doesn't tell you the degree of how much they liked it. The average rating is a much better indicator of that.
Joe, how do you use Rotten Tomatoes scores? Do you place a lot of emphasis on them beforehand, or do you just like, okay, that's the number?
Well, I always like to check it just to kind of see like if it's a movie I'm interested in. What are the critics saying?
Sure.
But it's really funny. I always kind of do a Google search for Rotten Tomatoes, and I always like to look at the audience reviews, and I take that into account more because I find myself often disagreeing with what the critics say, like a lot. And because there's a lot of movies they totally trash, and I really like them a lot. So, I think the audience as a whole seems you get a more accurate score of kind of where a movie lies.
I mean, it's more of the average moviegoer. They may not be film snobs like some of these critics.
As the video states, if you are going to look at critics, you got to look at like critics that a lot of the times you agree with, and you pick out a couple and you see what they maybe think. And then you don't really look at like an amalgamation of all the scores. You look at just who kind of aligns with your opinions on things.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it.
And I mean, and we'll get into this a little bit later, but it really is, it's a tool, and it's not the system. It's affecting Hollywood. The system isn't flawed. It's how we, the moviegoer, is using the system. That's
looking at the way the system is used right now, like a 78% on Defenders, I'm like, if I were to just take that at face value, I'm like, wow,
yeah,
really fucking hyped about this show.
Yeah.
Then I look at the average rating, which I've now learned is more accurate to describe the hype, and I'm like, this is okay.
It's
this will be an okay show.
66%, really.
Right. Yeah. It's more like some liked it, some didn't.
It's a little above. Yeah.
It's more. That's like, it doesn't condemn it because that 6 point something it's basically not. It's a little bit more than 50-50. Like so it's mixed. So you might like it if you watch it. You don't know. You have to watch it to make sure. So.
But that's a huge leap from 78%.
Yes.
Yes.
That 80% is like, wow, this is a really good show.
Yeah, that's way more confident going in watching something like that, thinking it's going to be good.
So let's real quick. Jessica Jones season 2 has started shooting, and guess who showed up in the fucking set pictures? None other than David Tennant.
Oh shit!
Flashbacks.
Do you think it's flashbacks, or do you think because in these photos, there's some photos they tweeted, it looks like he's yelling at Jessica and Malcolm, but they don't kind of see him. Like, is it in their head, or can they not shake him, or is it a flashback? How is he going to come back? I'm glad he's back, though.
Yeah,
plenty of ways to bring him back without actually keeping him alive.
Fucking great villain. Joe, did you like Jessica Jones? You saw all of that.
That whole show was great. I enjoyed it. I liked the actress. I liked the villain. It was great.
And the themes were great, and it was, it elevated it in terms of the PTSD and trauma. That was a strong one. And then the first half of Luke Cage, and then things go a little willy-nilly. Let's move on. So here's a couple of big Netflix news. We talked last episode about Disney wanting to pull their content from Netflix and start their own Netflix. But apparently
image all day, baby.
All day, image all day, son. But Netflix apparently has been in talks with Disney
fucks with that
to keep. Yo, you fuck with that? We fuck with Netflix. They're trying to keep the Star Wars and Marvel content, which is smart. Yes,
that's heavy, dog.
That's heavy.
We've now gone into the other portion of our show.
Reverse vitiligo, anybody?
Oh shit!
That's so. I think this is great because I was afraid they were going to pull everything, but you were still going to get like Thor Ragnarok, Black Panther, Avengers Infinity War, the next Star Wars movie. They will all show up on Netflix.
Wait, I see active discussions. It's not. Is this confirmed?
They're trying. It's active. It's not confirmed. But Disney has enough live action and animated shit to just take their shit and make their own fucking streaming service. But I don't know. I still think this is the start of breaking all these things up, and people are going to get upset, and they're not going to want to pay for everything. And I'm just going to pirate it. I'm just going to fucking download it and stream it illegally because fuck
Don't
you.
say that. You're a fucking Pakistani, dude.
Oh shit. Yeah, I'm already on a list.
They're already gunning for you.
Yeah. So
Don't
at this
give them
point,
a reason.
That's a good point. At this point, it doesn't matter. I'm already on the list. You hear me, FBI? I know I'm on your list. But the big thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is this MoviePass news.
I don't get this.
Okay.
What is this?
So MoviePass actually has been around since 2011. It's a subscription service where you pay. It started at $30 a month, then it was like $50 a month, then it was like $99. You get this debit card, and you could see one movie in a 24-hour period, excluding IMAX and 3D movies. What's happened is Mitch Lowe, one of the early Netflix founders, has joined the company, and he helped them work up the Redbox model, which I still see a lot of people using fucking Redboxes. That's how they get their movies. He wants to drop the movie ticket subscription to $10.
It is it's not dropped. It is dropped. I have a friend that's currently doing it.
So when this came out, I went to the website and I could not get on the website. It crashed the website.
So I don't understand how this works. Wait, they send you an ATM card or like a credit card that you use, and you use the card. You pay them $10.
You pay $10 monthly. So you've already prepaid. Okay. You go to the movie theater and you buy it with this.
You swipe the
card, and then after that first $10, the company MoviePass is now paying the movie theater every time you go.
Okay.
So they're banking on there being enough subscribers and people not using it as much as you think they would to then not only make money for themselves, but then give the movie theater added revenue that they weren't getting prior to this.
Well, and his thing is like Netflix. He's like, you need a model that's going to lose a lot initially, but go big and wide. And then
he's also looking at the $10 is the sweet spot for people.
Right, that people will do it. And there was also some talk about he was going to use the data that people gave him to sign up, sell that to the movie theaters.
Yeah, they're also talking about how if enough people do this, they'll see the data, people's viewing habits and data, and then be able to market to specific categories of people dependent on what movies they watch and how often they go to movie theaters.
So that's the only incentive for movie theaters to really be a part of this program. AMC is, I think they've opted out of this,
they're out.
Which sucks because I go to a lot of AMC theaters, but they're like, fuck this. This is a crazy plan because the theaters have got to be freaking out. Joe, have you heard of MoviePass? Would you subscribe to this for $10 a month?
I have heard of it, and it does sound like something I would do. But if one of the major movie theater chains is not going to opt into it, which I don't think they should. They're trying to become profitable. I've actually been following the story a lot because I bought stock in AMC.
Oh wow!
And I've been reading about
their stock dropped immediately after this came out, right?
Oh,
it came up just a little bit. It dropped after I think it was their second quarter earnings. They didn't do well. There was a lot of bad movies out, like Valerian, and just. This is what happens when there's not a good movie that comes out in that quarter. And there's a lot of negative sentiment going around where a lot of people that in business industry, they think that movie theaters are like the technology of the past, like Netflix is the future. So people are kind of trying to move away from it. But once there's some good movies that come out, we've got Justice League coming out, which is probably going to be a good movie for AMC, even if it's not a good movie for the theaters. We've got Infinity War coming up.
You got Thor. You got Black Panther.
Thor Ragnarok's coming up.
Star Wars.
I think
Star Wars.
Yeah, Star Wars is coming out next quarter. So I'm not trying to give stock advice, but you want to make a little extra money and you're willing to gamble a little bit, buy AMC stocks. It's probably going to go up after the fourth quarter earnings report.
Here's a couple things on this. First off, my friend Erwin, who's been on the show, signed up.
Okay. Because of this, or he had it before?
No, he signed up because of this.
Okay.
There's a $10 sign-in fee.
Okay.
So you pay an initial $10, and then you're opted into the $10 a month. Currently, he has signed up. There must either be a glitch in the system right now, and it's just being overrun.
Yeah.
Or it's not as good as people think right now because we live in Chicago, and if he has the app, and he sent us the location, and there's exactly one movie theater in Chicago that is on the MoviePass list. So either the shit is just being like overrun right now, and they're just not ready.
Yeah,
or
it's possible.
Or there's really just one movie theater in the Chicagoland area
haven't opted in.
Yeah, that's one point. So they got to work out a lot of the kinks. Number two, this isn't something to actually drive movie theater business out of business. This is actually something to get people going back to movie theaters. So that might be slightly confusing, but
it was the cost of movies is what keeps you from going.
Yes, that is what this guy is also arguing, is that movie theaters are now just too expensive.
Yeah,
and that $9 a month is the threshold for what people are willing to pay to go to a movie theater.
I think that the tickets, for the most part, are like in the $10 range, like $10, $12.
They've gone up to the average is like $8.82. Yeah, but depending on what big city you're in, they could be way higher.
But it's what the popcorn and the sitting down and getting everybody else that goes with you has to get a seat.
Right.
So it is more lucrative to go. Even if you pay for a movie at home, you can have as many people as you want. You can eat for free.
Right.
So that's the problem, is that the movie theaters are too expensive.
Well, this is worth it if they get enough theaters, because this is basically, you see one movie and it's already paid for itself.
Yeah. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, shit, I would go see a movie every day. But I was like, I say that now, but it would probably lose
There's nothing that you want to see every day.
So the other problem is, and I think this is going to help,
that's not a problem. That's what they're banking on to make money, is that you're not going to see a movie every day.
What I was going to say is the reports have come out that this is probably the worst box office year for movies in Hollywood in 25 years. 25 years they haven't seen stuff this low, and there's just been a string of bombs, and people do just go out to see these tentpole movies, but they don't get to see anything else.
It's not even the tentpole movies. I saw a video on this. It's kind of I was a little interested in it. Is people aren't seeing even all the big blockbusters anymore. They're seeing event films. So they're seeing, I think they've labeled, it goes to 5 to 6 movies a year that are considered event films that people are going to. So those make a shit ton of money. Like Beauty and the Beast, for instance, made a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
Or Star Wars, or Avengers. Those will make the shit ton of money, and then everything else will kind of just be a little bit.
But
so it's more designed around now just one or two. People are just picking and choosing what films they want to see, and not going for every big blockbuster that comes out.
Yeah, I mean, they're struggling. They're struggling this summer, and if there's only one theater in Chicago that's signed up for this so far,
I have to believe that there's a glitch in the system right now. People are just signing up.
Yeah. I mean, they crashed. Like we said, it crashed the website. I couldn't even get to the website. But it's going to be interesting to see where these theaters land. How many more opt out? How many more of these chains opt out? Or how many are like, look, we need people in the fucking seats. I think this could get people, like you said, this could get butts in the seats. If I'm paying $10 a month.
And I think they're pitching it to the theaters that, hey, you'll still make money on popcorn, drinks, concessions,
all that money is yours.
Stuff, right?
That's where they make the most of their money.
Right.
So I don't know. I was going to sign up. I may still sign up if the fucking website works now.
It does work. I was on there. It does work. I mean, you do need you can't transfer your pass though. So you have to go physically. You can't be giving it to your friend and be like,
that's the thing. It doesn't work
you show up to the theater with this thing. And you have to buy a ticket. You can't pre-buy tickets.
No, that's the only thing. So if it's a sold out movie, you're running the risk of going in there and not being able to get a ticket.
Oh, that sucks balls.
Wait, you can't pick your seat and shit like you would if you were on Fandango?
Not unless you get there early. Not unless it'll say reserved seating,
but it's not.
You still physically have to go to the theater and pick out your seat.
Man,
so you have to get there early enough to still get a seat if you're expecting a midnight showing or something like that.
I saw right now they have something maybe 20,000 subscribers currently, and it's a current.
If this thing takes off, it'll change the game.
It really will. Remember that box idea that also they were you could get a box and for $50 first run movies at home? It made me think of that, which I would do also.
I mean, who would have thought that a Netflix who was sending you DVDs would blow up to what it's become?
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was basically delivery Blockbuster.
Yeah, it destroyed. Well, which is why you got
It
this
destroyed
guy,
everything.
Mitch. This guy, Mitch, knows his shit, man. I think it's a
He
bold
did
move.
what, Netflix and
Redbox.
Redbox.
Well, one of the things that sucked about Blockbuster is that you'd go in there and then the movie that you wanted was out.
right.
So this would take that out. You definitely get the movie eventually.
Right.
Also, Blockbuster, they didn't have a porn section, and I don't trust any video store that doesn't have a porn section because you're not a true video store.
They had softcore.
Yeah, but they didn't have that room in the back where you go through the saloon doors
yeah.
and it's all dark and it smells weird. Not that I've ever been back there. Just saying.
This could work for the smaller films
Yes.
that struggle to be in theaters. People get this subscription and they might go see a movie that they might not have, and that might bring back the smaller film industry. So that's where I think this will probably.
That's
may-
actually a good
yeah.
point I didn't think of.
It may bring back original movies and,
Not original. It just give more attention to that
They'll
stuff.
just mandate. They'll just mandate you have
make
to
it more
see a movie.
profitable again.
Yeah.
People are like, hey, let's go see that small indie film. We got this subscription for $10 a month. Let's go check it out.
I think the smaller theaters and non-franchise theaters, I think it would help them also to be a part of this. Like the Davis Theater here, that's 100 years old. They renovated down the street. If they were in on this, I would get it in a second.
This is one way to do it. I mean, I also know that I forgot what it's called, RDX or whatever.
Yes.
I forget what
That immersive thing,
Yeah,
yeah.
the immersive experience. They're trying to figure out ways. So there's the immersive experience. You could go that route and make things even a little bit more expensive, where you're sitting there and you're actually getting wind blown at you, and it's a ride sort of feel. There's also the theaters that serve you dinner.
Yes.
And have bars and serve you drinks.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's different. I mean, they're trying to come up with different ways to get people to come back to theaters.
Simply the fact that I can reserve
Hot chicks.
Yeah,
They haven't
hot
done that
chicks,
yet.
seat warmers next to you. There's hot chicks. I want to be. Just the fact that I can pick my seat and I don't have to worry about it. That got me going back
like
to movies
that.
a little bit more. That is a great move.
Well, let's just go. Do you guys all still enjoy the movie going experience?
I do if I get to pick my seats.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really cool because I could pick my seats, pay for the seats, show up, sit down where I want to, and not have nope. That was a huge thing back in the day. You couldn't do that, which is a couple of years ago.
Right.
Where some asshole will show up during the movie and try and get seats that you're trying to save or whatever.
Yeah,
It's really ridiculous. So.
Uh,
It was a weird experience, and this has taken it away.
Do you feel like the price you're paying right now is still that's cool? I'm fine with that.
I don't care about the price.
Okay.
The one thing about the movies that I don't like is having to take a shit during the movie. That's really the biggest deterrent
Should you
for
be able
me.
to pause? Do you want to be able to pause
Yeah.
the movie?
No. It's just it would be cool if
You were sitting on a toilet.
it would be cool if they could just beam it to your phone while you're in the bathroom.
Look, that's why you need the app Run Pee. It tells you exactly when to go to the bathroom. It tells you what you miss when you're in the bathroom. It gives you the best. He pick 3 points where he's like, "Here's the best time."
See, but I don't want to have to wait for when my bowel movement is about to come out and I'm crowning. I'm not worried about Run Pee and looking it up. I'm worried about let me get the fuck out of here before I make a mess. And then I want to whip out my phone while I'm taking a shit or taking a piss. I got one hand on my penis, one hand on my phone, and I'm watching the rest of the movie that I'm missing, and I walk back in.
Joe, let me ask you: do you find yourself having to take a shit in the middle of the movie, or are you more like a normal adult and you take care of it beforehand?
Very, very rarely. No, I try to time, when I eat my meals.
Yes.
To when I go to the movie theater. That way, I'm not in the middle of the movie
it's 8 hours.
But don't you get food at the movie theater?
Yeah, but it's not going to go right through you immediately.
Oh, it does.
See, that's funny you said that. I'm the guy that probably rarely gets food at the movie
I'm the
theater.
same way, Joe.
I don't.
Because-
Yeah, I don't either anymore.
I try to go to as many movies as I can, so I don't want to spend, $10 for a popcorn.
Yeah,
so,
that's where they get you. Me too. I don't buy shit.
$10 for my next movie
Exactly.
ticket. Right there.
See,
Man, I gotta get those nachos.
But I do have an AMC Stubbs card, and
That
thing's
I heard
awesome.
that thing is really good.
I used to have one of those. Those things were great. I would say I'm kind of like Joe. I don't get concessions either, but not because I don't want to pay the pricing, more because I have a little ass bladder, and if I drink a Coke, I'm going to have to pee in the movie.
That too.
But as a millennial, I still enjoy the movie going experience, but I am not willing to pay to see a movie that is not an event movie anymore. So
Really?
I will wait for it to come out on DVD or not a DVD, but Blu-ray or on Netflix. Like, I won't see a small film on movie theaters.
The most recent for me, when The Big Sick, when I heard about The Big Sick and I saw that and it was about Kumail and Johnny, me and my wife were like, let's go see this. And we were dying to see this in the theater, kept hearing great things. And it was a great movie and it was a great experience. So lately I've been enjoying going to the movies because the seats are nicer, they recline, they're wider. There's like a little side table. It's great. So it's worth the price now.
I don't know. For me, like seeing a blockbuster in theater is worth it. Seeing like Get Out or something like that is like, I can watch that. I didn't have the same enjoyment and not pay that much.
Well, that's the thing. Going to the theater, you're risking sitting next to an asshole.
Yeah.
And, having the shit.
Yep.
Or there's a whole host of problems that could happen at a theater where you don't.
Now people are pulling out their phones like no fucking.
Oh my God. I'm so nervous, like pulling my phone out at all. Like,
you pull out your phone, dude. That's the most distracting thing ever.
No, I would be nervous if it like buzzes in my pocket. I'm like, that could be an emergency, but.
Let me tell you about the last 2 times I was at the theater. Yeah. Okay. So I went to go see, I forgot what movie, but it was a recent one. Might have been Logan or something like that. I had 2 really, really obese people sitting next to me, and I could just hear them breathing like Tony Soprano the whole time. It was like they were snoring. I thought they were snoring because it sounded like snoring, but they were just both awake, breathing. That was one. Jeez. Then I had a couple, and the seats recline and everything, and they were like fucking making out and just being gross, and I'm like, I hear like things, and I'm like trying not
just the mouth.
I'm not trying to. I'm like trying to like not look at them because I'm trying to concentrate. I think it was during Homecoming.
Oh my God!
Oh my God! I was so mad. Whatever. So it's a gamble.
Joe, the most offensive thing you've seen at a theater, or what would you consider the most offensive thing?
Oh man, see, I don't offend very easily.
Oh, good, good. I like that.
Man, I mean, there's been a whole bunch of times where I've been in movie theaters and people are like lighting up joints.
Oh, that's a good movie theater. Where can I go to that theater?
Snoring,
what theater is that?
That was when I was living in New York. I think it was the Arnold Schwarzenegger Total Recall movie. Saw that there was like nobody in there except for a couple Rastafarians, and they were just lighting it up. And it was strong, man. And I was like, we got to sit a few seats back here. I think I'm getting a contact high.
That's awesome. Does anybody remember, Anthony, not you, I know you won't, when you could smoke in the movie theaters?
That seems awful.
Yeah, right? Think about it.
I remember that.
I was thinking about that.
When I went to go see like Gremlins or something when I was a kid, there people were smoking in the theaters.
It's in, like, if you watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High, the guy's taking tickets, he's like smoking to the left, smoking, and you're like, and then and there's a scene where there's people just smoking in the movie theater. It's so weird. Also, the fact that you could be able to smoke on a plane, it seems very odd to me now.
Yeah, they used to have little ashtrays on the seats.
So, like, but where did everybody smelling the smoke? Like, it's not gonna just go.
It was just part of the smell of the world.
Smoke used to be everywhere in hallways. There's ashtrays, and I miss the good old days.
People used to wear suits when they traveled, right?
Yeah, they used to wear hats and suits to baseball games and smoke in the movie theaters.
Yeah, I don't miss that.
The good old days. All right, that's it for the news right now. People, we're going to play some promos and come back and geek out with Joe Henry and get to know him.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Trivia Geeks, the Unpredictable Game Show podcast, is back with a brand new season. They've got a new host, new games, and a new day and time. But that's not all. Now you can download their companion app, Triv Now, and play along in real time. Watch Carrie on YouTube as she tries to convince her partner that his Dark Knight hasn't risen in years. Listen on Diamond Club and Alpha Geek Radio, Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can also follow the show on Facebook and Twitter and get all the latest updates and showtimes.
Do you like video games?
Do you like comics?
Do you like movies?
I'm Ellie.
I'm Zinger, and we're the host of
Zing This Podcast.
We discuss nerdy topics every week on our podcast. What are some of the best ways to find our podcast, Ellie?
You can search us on SoundCloud,
iTunes,
Google Play,
and Stitcher.
And don't forget, that's ZENG.
We hope to see you guys there. Every week, we have new nerdy topics.
Yay!
Forgive the interruption, but I believe this requires your attention.
If you ever believed Captain America was on the U.S. Olympic soccer team.
If you ever thought that the Winter Soldier was that brace yourselves guy on the internet.
And if you ever wondered just what would a raccoon do with a machine gun.
Then don't let another week pass you by without tuning into
Mighty Marvel Geeks.
Mighty Marvel Geeks is your show about all things Marvel.
With news, rumors, commentary, and interviews.
As well as our weekly recommendations on what to pick up on New Comic Book Day.
Official consulting hours are between 8 and 5 every other Thursday.
That's Mighty Marvel Geeks on WeebieGeeks.net, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts.
Doc and Nerd.
If you are enjoying the show, listener, thank you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for checking us. I don't know how you could be. I don't know how people like Joe Henry are giving us money and they're actually listening. We don't understand how this happens. But if you want to help us out like Joe and get more content, there's more show, join our fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon. And for a low monthly pledge, you will get access to bonus content, a whole extra podcast feed with post-show episodes, instant reactions. But I think you should all be like Joe. You pick the tier he's at, and you get to come on the show and hang out. And so, Joe, real quick, give me a testimonial. Sell this fan club for us. What are you getting value from it?
I am, and if you're a listener to the show, be a Patreon supporter, even if it's just $1 a month. Support these guys. You know you like the show. You're listening to it. And plus, you get the bonus content, which is great. There's some great extra content on there that you're only going to hear if you're a Patreon supporter.
There you go. From the Patreon himself, jockandnerd.com.
That's more legit than anything me and Ryan Rugby
absolutely. That's from a guy who is giving us money, and now he's on the show. jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Joe, you're from Florida. You live in Florida.
Well, I grew up in New York, actually.
Oh, you did? Ooh.
Yeah, I was born in Florida, grew up in New York, and then kind of came back down here.
In New York City you grew up?
It was Long Beach, Long Island.
Shit.
I could have my New York accent if I want to, but I pretty much lost it.
You got a little Long Island in you.
Long Island.
Are you an Islanders fan?
I wasn't really a big hockey fan
a hockey guy.
Growing up. I was never big. I was more into baseball.
So you're
Mets,
a Mets
Yankees.
guy. You got to be a Mets guy, right?
I was more of a Yankees guy because my uncle was a big Yankees fan, but the very first baseball game I ever did go to was a Mets game, actually.
Got it.
You wrote that you work in the medical field.
I do. I'm a CT technologist. I work over at USF Health, and I'm also a supervisor. So I supervise a whole bunch of facilities at Tower Diagnostic Radiology that we're partnered with, and USF Health, and been doing it for a while now.
Wow, it's computed tomography is what you.
That's
what
right.
is that?
That's
What is
right.
that?
It's basically scanning the body, looking for cancers, broken bones. It's kind of a lot like MRI.
Oh, so it's not an MRI. It's a different machine.
It's not MRI. It's very complementary to it. There's certain things that CT shows better than MRI.
Oh, it's the CT scan. Okay, yeah.
CT scan.
Yeah. You're like the guy sitting at the computer doing the imaging and looking at it.
Right. I'm kind of my best way to describe it because everyone's like CT. What is that? I'm pretty much like the nurse for the radiologist. That's kind of like a good way to describe it.
Do you catch things before like the doctors do, and you're like, that doesn't look good?
Yeah, when there's serious stuff, I will, make the patient wait, and I'll talk to the doctor right away, tell him what's going on. There's one time I saved the guy's life. He had this bleeding aneurysm. I got to talk to the doctor right away. We got the paramedics that came in, and he ended up, coming back later to thank me for saving his life, which was really
Holy
cool.
shit! Where was it in his head?
No, this one was in his belly.
Whoa.
And he like walked in for the scan. He wasn't. This wasn't when I was working in the emergency room, and it freaked me out. I could grab the doctor right away, and he's like, "Make sure he lies down and doesn't move." And
holy shit,
we just made sure he got his care right away. Because the worst thing that you could do as a CT tech is not look at the images. You let a guy like that leave,
right,
and he might end up dying on you.
Well, that's the thing. I wondered. You're not the doctor, but you have a responsibility to be like, "There's the big thing here."
Yeah, and I don't pretend to be a doctor. I can't read the exams because as a doctor, you just look out for like the major stuff that's life threatening. And
how long do these scans take?
It depends on the exam. I mean, probably the scanning's the quickest part. It's all in the preparation. You know, you got to get them back, get a history. Sometimes you got to start an IV, and you know, it's all getting them changed. All the preparation takes longer than the scan.
You're saving lives, man.
Scan can take just seconds.
A man is saving lives, and you did a stint in the ER. I bet you saw a lot of crazy shit in the ER.
Yeah, I did see a lot of crazy stuff. I did.
It's just like the TV show. So let's
an ER for me is like horrific. I would never want to work in an ER.
Yeah. Did you? Why? Did you have bad?
No, I'm just saying there's the crazy shit that's going to come in there.
Yeah, and when there's a full moon, a lot of crazy things really do happen. You get a lot of crazy people that come in, and hell breaks loose sometimes.
Don't you all have to do, like, everyone has to do a tour in the ER if you're trying to be in the medical field in any capacity?
Yeah, when I was getting my radiography degree, you become an X-ray tech before you become a CT tech.
Okay.
We had to do a stent in the ER, the OR, you know, all that stuff. You have to do it.
All right, well, look, let's talk about your nerdy side. What are your favorite? When did you first read comic books, or when was the first superhero you remember seeing? Where does this go back to?
Man, probably the first superhero was like the original Batman series with Adam West.
Ah, yes.
You know, I remember watching that as a kid, and you know, I didn't collect a lot of comic books. You know, I watched a lot of the, you know, comic book TV shows, the DC stuff, the Batman animated series, the Spider-Man animated series, and I really got into a lot of it then. I never got a chance to really collect a lot of comic books as a kid, unfortunately. I collected a little bit of the G.I. Joe and Transformer stuff from Marvel as a kid, and like a few comics here and there, but I was busy doing a lot of skateboarding when I was a kid.
Skateboarding, and there's the jock side. So who's the favorite character, if you had to pick one?
Favorite character? Man, I probably have a few. I mean, Batman, Superman, I love the X-Men. It's hard to pick. You know, those were some of my favorites for sure. Spider-Man.
Yes, you
fuck Spider-Man.
No, you got to have Spider-Man. You got to have Spider-Man. So you just mentioned, let's talk about your jock side. You did a lot of skateboarding, and I teased that you were an EDM DJ.
Yeah.
How did that happen? Tell us that story.
That was after high school. I was in college and knew a lot of people that were in bands, and we ended up going to some parties, some raves, and listening to the music. And some of my friends were DJs, and just my dad actually had an MK1200 turntable.
Oh,
and I had a couple buddies that had just one of them, and those were like the best to mix with.
Yeah.
And I told him, I was like, yeah, my dad will let me borrow it if you teach me how to spin. It was kind of like my way in, and made some good friends doing it, had a lot of fun. So I learned how to mix like on original turntables. Everything now is mostly like CD mixing. And towards the end of my DJ career, I was getting into mixing both turntables and CDs, but everything's pretty much CDs now.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a hip-hop DJ, get some techniques in a mixer, just learn how to scratch and catch the break beat. Like, I always wanted to learn how to do that.
I still got some friends that still do it. There's one good friend that's still a producer. He might actually listen to this podcast, so I was telling him about that.
Do you listen to current EDM stuff?
Not as much. You know, I'm just been busy with work. I got a little toddler at home now, so he's been taking up a lot of my time. But I try to every once in a while. You know, they've got a lot of good music festivals. I try to get there every once in a while for them.
You can meet Anthony at some of these.
I'll be standing around with my shirt off.
Yes, he's the one with no shirt on and macking out all the chicks. Go to EDC. So what was your style of like EDM DJing? Did you have a style? What was your thing?
It was down in Florida, so like at the time, like Florida Breaks was really big. So like some of the DJs that I liked a lot were like Icy. One of my friends, he started getting really good at it. He became a producer, started his own record company at the time before records completely got phased out. They were Agent K and Deuce. My other friend 303, that was he's still in it, still producing, really talented. Yeah, Tony Feline down in Tampa. I mean, I like trance and I like
you're a trance head?
House, but I mean, I like a lot of it. A lot of it that sounds good to me. You know,
was it house music or just like rave music?
Well, I mean, like house too, but like breakbeat is kind of like, it's hard to say. It's like a cross between like hip hop and like house, but in house you have like the straight beats, like doom doom doom. Break beats kind of like doom ch, doom 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 ch, doom ch. So it has like that break in it with the snare, and then you have a lot of, sometimes you have like pretty vocal tracks that are put on top of that, and sometimes they'll add in like samples from like popular rap songs. I'll have to hook you guys up with some CDs. I don't know if you'll like them or not, but I'll send you some old CDs.
The way it is now, the people that are like consider themselves like the hipster ravers, like really enjoy like what you're talking about, the house music, the trance music. Like that's the stuff that like, man, I'm a hardcore. They don't even refer to it as EDM. I'm just a hardcore raver. And then all of like the new stuff is like they're like, I don't really like that anymore. Like the progressive house, the electro house, the trap music. That's all like considered like bro music, basically.
I never got into like all that stuff. Like I dabbled a little bit with jungle. That was a little too fast though, and it was okay. That was the thing that kind of got me into it, is like I would hear certain DJs and they would just play like a song after song that was awesome, and then you go to like hear another guy and they would just play all these crappy songs. I was like, I could do better than that. Why don't I just play all the songs that I like? And that's what kind of got me motivated to do it. I was like, I think I could do it better, and it was a lot of fun. I got a lot of good stories.
You came up in the same kind of timeline as DJ AM, so like, was it similar to that, where I think he was doing break beats and sampling different rap songs and putting them all together and kind of mixing rock into it and stuff like that?
Well, he did a lot of stuff, like a lot of different DJs. I know he did like house, and he did trance. He did some breakbeat stuff. I remember hearing some of his sets that he had.
Like Girl Talk, you ever heard of them?
That one
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they mix all kinds of shit together, a lot of genres together. It's really interesting to listen to.
Yeah, it depended on the party that I went to. I mean, there's some nights that I would do like just whatever the crowd was into. You kind of play around, and it's like, oh, this crowd's like really into house. So you kind of play to the crowd and see what they're into, and that's what kind of makes it fun. Some DJs, they would only play just their stuff that they wanted to hear, but you have to kind of feel out the crowd and see what they're doing. Yeah. And that's what makes you a good DJ versus just an average DJ, and seeing what they liked. And it was fun, man. I often got people dancing.
That's how you can kind of tell too now, like when you're at a live show. Like sometimes there's just DJs that just do push a button, and you can tell because they're just playing what they want to play. But then you'll have DJs up there that are actually mixing live, and they're feeding off the crowd. So they're like, damn, the crowd's really reacting to this old school hip hop. So let's fucking keep it going,
Yeah.
Right, and those are some of like the best times that you'll have when you have a DJ that just knows the crowd like that.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
It was a ton of fun.
And then those moments where the next song comes on and the whole crowd reacts, and they're like, "Oh, that's," and like you're doing a good thing. It's the same as if you're playing in a live band. It's a reciprocal energy. If you were having fun, the audience feels it. They send it back to you. You use that. You send it back.
You could send it back through a TV, right, Imran?
Absolutely. I just clicked the like button over and over again. I'm like, they're seeing these likes, right? I liked it.
I love it.
There's the feedback. There's my feedback. Thanks for the love there. Look, I've been in a band. I've been to concerts. I was just saying for Lollapalooza, I know everyone's going to give me shit. Go ahead. You can give me shit for saying that I'm going to stay home and watch Lollapalooza. We have an email later on of another listener giving me shit. It's great. What are your best stories? Like one good story from your DJ years.
Oh man, this
how crazy did it get?
Oh yeah, this is a great story. This is probably my best one. So I was DJing at clubs towards the end of it. I never got really big.
This in Florida or New York?
This is in Florida. Okay. And this story took place like circa 2001-ish.
Okay.
So what happened was I was doing a lot of like house parties, and we had organized like a lot of these events, and we found this one guy. I'm just going to call him Gary, and I don't want to say his name.
Oh, of course.
But he had this ranch house like out in Punta Gorda, and like tons of land out there. And we would organize these events. We'd charge people at the door. I brought the equipment in. I handled all the music aspect of it. And we got a good portion of the door, and some of the money went to him. Well, it got really big, and it attracted like a lot of people that were dealing drugs. There's a lot of people that were dealing like nitrous and stuff. And this is when I was like first kind of getting into cat skin and everything. And I had like a falling out with one of the girls I was dating at the time Oh, that's right. there was two girls I was dating at the same time.
Oh, damn!
And this happened on that
guy.
same night. I
You know what
forgot
that's
about
like?
this.
Nope.
Absolutely not.
Well, it was crazy. I'll just kind of back up to that. But there was one girl I was dating, Jessica, and she was this surfer and model, and she ended up going out. We dated, and then she had to go out to like some surfing competition in California. Sorry to say sidetrack, but it's part of the story. And I didn't see her for a few months. She said she was coming back, and then I started dating this other girl. We were not serious or exclusive with either one of them. And then there was this party that night, and Annie, the other one I was just dating, said that she couldn't make it. Jessica just came back, and we were kind of like trying to rekindle what we had, so I was going to take her to this party that night.
Yeah.
Originally, I didn't even want to go because this other lady that was working the door, this is another girl that I dated very briefly.
Damn, Joe Henry fucks.
Damn, this guy fucks. This guy definitely fucks.
She like, we kind of had a falling out. I found out that she was like stealing money from the door and like, you know, there's all the craziness with all the, you know, people that were dealing drugs. And I was just kind of like, I need to take a step back. So Gary that was doing this house party, he called me up and he's like, oh, you know, I want you to come down. I'm like, listen, man, I think I'm going to stop doing this now. I've got gigs at clubs. I don't really need this anymore. He's like, no, you have to do it tonight. You have to do it. He's like, I'll pay you, you know, double, you know, what you usually take for it. I'm like, double? I'm like, okay, well, you know, fine. Okay, I'll do it. I thought that was kind of odd. So we're there at the party and I was headlining and I'm looking all around the party and stuff. And I see all these guys and they just didn't fit. They looked like cops to me. I mean, they had like these black dress pants, these white collared shirts, and, you know, black dress shoes. And I go up to Gary before I went on. I'm like, man, like, I'm pretty sure that your party is being, you know, scoped out by the cops. Like, I don't know some of your friends here. They're dealing drugs. I don't know, you know, you need to tell them to leave. And he's like, no, man, you're just, you know, it's nothing, you know, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You want some weed? I'm like, no, man, I'm good. He's like, you want some nitrous? I'm like, no, I'm good. And then he's like, all right, well, let me make sure that, you know, I pay you for everything first. I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. He's never paid me up front. It's usually at the end of the night. Yeah. So I'm like thinking this isn't right. So he pays me and then I get on and I'm like 2 or 3 songs in. I got the whole, like everyone there is partying and dancing. And all of a sudden, like, this cop car pulls out on the lawn of his ranch. I'm like, oh, shit. I like, turn the music down. I'm like, turn it down. And there's like 20 cop cars there. I read the newspaper article after that.
Oh, there was an article about it?
Yeah, there was an article. I wish I would have seen it. They said that there was cooperation between 3 different counties for these cops to come and bust this party. So I think Gary knew about it. I think because of the prior parties, maybe maybe they wanted to come down on him. It's like, listen, we won't come down on you for these parties if you make sure you throw one more and we could bust all these.
Yeah, he may have been in on it, like a sting operation.
I think so, because like when I told him I was going to cancel, like he's like, no, you have to.
He's like, no, I need you here. And we got to do this.
We had rescheduled before.
Yeah,
that's why I changed his name, because I don't want him getting any bad blood all these years later. But yeah, and they were crazy parties. I mean, they used to get bounce houses on the lawn in there. I mean, there were hundreds and hundreds of people that would show up.
Damn, sounds like a movie. At least he got paid.
Oh, yeah, and then bring back to the girls. So that night I was there with Jessica, and Annie that said she wasn't going to go, she ended up showing up.
Oh, no.
So they both, that was kind of like the first time. Yeah, they both kind of met each other that night, and I was like,
while you're getting arrested by 20 cops.
Well, I was really lucky to get arrested. One of the cops came up to me and he said, like, and I have some family members that are in law enforcement, so all respect to law enforcement. But he says to me, he goes, man, like, if you're performing at a party, you know, like, you need to just pack up your shit and leave. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, how many people, like, are musicians, you know, like, you talking to me, like, if Aerosmith's playing and somebody lights up a joint, they just need to walk off stage? Yeah. That's what I told the guy, you know, and they made me leave all my equipment there, you know, so I got thousands of dollars of equipment. So I had to, you know, I took whoever didn't get arrested that were my friends that night. We went back to a hotel close because I was like an hour away where I live. And, you know, I'm like stressing out, like, was my shit going to get stolen before I get back? And I ended up bringing both of the girls back, which I don't know if that was such a great idea.
Yeah,
But they had nowhere else to go, and it was like a cat fight between them. We had to pull them apart. It was not a fun night, man.
Did you get all your shit back?
Yeah, luckily I waited. It was like almost light outside, and then I went back, to see like if everything had cleared out. All my stuff was still there. There was still some other people there that weren't arrested. They were still partying, which I don't know why they stayed. There's no music. They were still partying. Maybe they were still high or something. And I picked up my shit. And
it ain't a party till the cops show up. That's what I think.
Yeah,
that's when you know it's a good party.
Yeah, that's when you know I'm at a fucking. It ain't a party until there's an article about it in the paper the next day.
Yeah, I wish I would have saved it. I went looking around for it years ago, and I had moved a couple times, and I don't know what I did with it.
Dude, that's awesome.
But I thought you'd enjoy that story.
That's
very
awesome.
Cool.
Okay, and the other story that I teased at the beginning, you wrote to me that you spent 30 minutes with two of the terrorists that hit the World Trade Center on 9/11.
Yeah.
What the shit is this? How did this happen?
Yeah, this is another crazy story I've told my friends and my family, and obviously I didn't realize it at the time, but so I was working at Bon Secours Venice Hospital at the time. It was a Catholic hospital. It's called Venice Regional now, and it's when I first was a CT tech, and it could have been really close to that party. This is early 2001, so it's probably like in the months leading up to 9/11. And what happened was one of the priests came up to me and he's like, "Hey, I want you to take good care of these two guys in the emergency room. They're about to have a CAT scan." And I was the only CT tech working second shift that night. And I'm like, "Sure, Father. You know what? I'll take good care of them. I take good care of everybody." And he goes, "I want you to take good care of him because he's in the fellow flight training program as one of my fellow priests."
Oh shit.
So my first question was, why is a priest learn how to fly?
Yeah.
So he said, well, he's a fellow Catholic priest in Africa, and the church donated him a plane, and he's learning how to fly it so he could fly food and medical relief to his parishioners because everybody's really far away in Africa. And I'm like, man, that's a great story.
Okay.
Of course I'll take good care of him. So I go to, bring the guys back, and one of them, I got to look up their names because I'll never forget their faces. I wrote them down here. So, the guy that I did the scan on, this was all in Muhammad Atta's thing, the guys that took over Flight 11.
Yeah.
He was, that was S. Al-Sukwami.
Okay.
And he was there, and usually I take these guys back by themselves. I don't bring any family members or friends with them. But the other guy, insisted that he come back as well. Maybe because he didn't want him out of his sight and stuff.
Yeah.
And the other guy was this younger guy, and according to the pictures, that I'll never forget his face. He was A. Al-Amari.
Okay.
He was the other guy that was in that terror cell.
Whoa.
So I bring him back, and I'm doing the scan. So I'm, with him for 30 minutes. He said the reason he wanted to come back was the guy didn't speak very good English. He did speak kind of broken English, but not too much. And the reason he was having the scan done is he was having a lot of abdominal pain. At the time, they want to rule out, appendicitis and things like that. His scan was completely negative. So I could tell that the guy was stressed. So he was obviously stressed about what he was going to do. And I was trying to make small talk because, I got this great story, why the Catholic priests learn how to fly. So I go to him. I was like, hey, so why are you guys learning how to fly? I could tell that, they were from out of the country and stuff. And the other guy just cooled and skipped a beat. He's like, why don't you just focus on my friend and getting him better?
Oh, shit.
Oh,
wow.
So I had this, just weird feeling about the whole thing.
Wow.
And I finished up the scan, and the whole time, I'm like, this is just, something just wasn't right. You just kind of remember that. And then after the whole 9/11 thing happened, and then I didn't even dawn on me.
And this was in New York?
It happened. Well, I wasn't in New York at the time.
When were you? Where did you see them?
Well, this was in Florida.
Florida. Okay, got it.
Yeah. So see, they were actually training at the Venice Municipal Airport, which is right next to Venice Hospital.
Florida.
Wow.
Oh.
And that's where so this is how I found out about it. Was they had found out the names of the terrorists, and they posted online that they were training in Florida and where they were. They were actually just down the street from where one of my friends would live.
Wow.
Where they were staying. And that's when all of a sudden I looked at their faces when they posted the faces, and I was like, what?
Whoa.
I was like, holy crap! I scanned that guy right before they did all this, and everything kind of added up. I literally picked up the phone. I was getting ready to call the FBI to tell them this, and I was like, what can I add other than I did a CAT scan on him? So I was like, I hung up the phone, and I was like, I tell people that story, and I'm like, I spent 30 minutes with 2 of the terrorists that slammed into the World Trade Center.
I was gonna ask if the FBI ever contacted you, but
nah. Like I was like, well, what can I add that they don't already know? They raided their house. This was kind of going through my head as I picked up the phone. I was like, well, they already raided their house. They already know everything. I could just tell them the CAT scan story. I'm sure probably other people from that hospital probably remember it and maybe talk to them as well. But there wasn't anything I could add other than
your details would be negligible to what they were going
so
for.
Did you think knew where the guy stayed, and
he had an ulcer? Probably is that what was causing him pain?
It was just stress. When you get stressed, sometimes your body just has these horrible reactions to it. And I remember him too. He's pointing to like his left lower abdomen. He's like, it hurts. He had like really broken English, and
they're clearly Arab. They're Arab dudes, clearly, right?
Well, I mean, the one guy I really couldn't tell. I mean, he had like a lighter complexion.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy that was watching him. The other guy, he had a darker complexion. They're both really young. I mean, they had to be in their 20s, those 2 guys. They had to be close to my age, maybe a little bit older than I was at the time. And, yeah, I mean, the other guy, I don't know where he's from.
That reaction, though, had to have been like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah, like, how did you remember these 2?
No, I'm saying, like, when he asks him about flying, and he goes, and he responds like that.
Scan the dude.
Yeah, he was shaking like a leaf after I said that, and that's when the other guy said, why don't you just focus on my friend getting better? And that's when he was like pointing to where it hurts, and he was like trembling.
Wait, and the priest though, was that the priest? So they told the priest the story about being ministers in Africa, preachers.
Well, no, I think he probably had. I don't know. The priest didn't tell me like how he knew him, but somehow he knew that they were in the same flight training program as the priest.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know. I never went back to the priest and said, how do you know him? Maybe he was, maybe I'm just guessing here, but maybe he just was at the flight training school with him one time and he recognized him or something. They probably had like a small class of students.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Insane. Yeah, that's a crazy story, isn't it? And 9/11's coming up, the anniversary, so.
And to see...
That reminds me of a story.
Okay.
It has to do with 9/11, but not directly like this. This is like as close as you can fucking get right there. But I just remember I was dating this chick who her boyfriend before me was Muslim.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, she had to leave her apartment and the feds came and got her and like questioned her for like 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So... I don't know if this guy or ex-boyfriend had any ties, but I think he might have hung out in circles where some of the terrorist cells were, or there were people that were associated with terrorists in New York. So
that was crazy. That was, things haven't been right since then.
I've got a couple other 9/11 stories too, because I was traveling around a little bit. I actually almost got one of my friends killed. because of this
great
story.
Friend, Joe. You're a great friend.
And actually, you might have to have him on the show because he's a director, creator. He's directed movies. He's done shows on Nickelodeon.
Wow.
One of my good childhood friends, Andreas Trolf. And but I will tell you. So what happened was after I was working at Venice Hospital, I ended up getting a travel gig up in Concord, New Hampshire. And remember, I'm from Long Island, so often on the weekends, I would go to New York. This is all like right around 9/11. So the weekend before 9/11, I was in New York visiting my friends, and my friend Andreas Trolf, who got to have on the show. And you could actually see the World Trade Center from his house. He's like kind of the North Shore of Long Island. You could see it from the bay. And this is the Friday before 9/11. I'd just gotten into town. I'm talking to my buddy, and I look at the World Trade Center I haven't seen in a couple of years. And I go, man, do you remember back in 93 when they tried to bomb the World Trade Center?
Yeah.
I was like, imagine if they would have succeeded. There's so many people in that building. So he got the idea to go to the World Trade Center because we had talked about it. And he had made plans to go on Tuesday, but they fell through. He ended up going to the top of the World Trade Center on Monday. And he called his fiancée at the time in California to let him know he was at the top of the World Trade Center. She didn't get the message until that Tuesday.
Oh, shit.
Oh. And then all the cell phones were dead.
Yes.
She's thinking he's dead. And
oh, my God.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He was there the day before.
He was there the day before at the top of the World Trade Center. And
Holy fuck.
Yeah, and then all that happened. I was working back in New Hampshire when 9/11 happened. And then I had to fly out of Kennedy to go back to Florida to visit my family. I think it was the Friday after 9/11. So, all the craziness with flying then. And that's when he told me that story. It's like, man, it's like we were talking about it. And then, I was at the top. I almost went on Tuesday. You told me that whole story, and I was like, oh, man, I'm just glad you didn't go on Tuesday.
That's crazy. That's the one thing I never did. I lived in New York, for 5 years, went to art school there, and did a bunch of the other tourist things, so I never got to the top of that building. It's just
I've been there.
Yeah, I never
did one time.
Yeah.
One time, and it was a crazy sight because you're in the observation deck and you look down and you could see helicopters flying below you.
Whoa!
Yeah,
it's that high. It was
crazy.
Like the thing is,
it's legit.
We have this, coming from Chicago, I'd been to the top of the Sears Tower. I was like,
I still haven't done that.
Oh, you haven't done that?
I
No.
have.
You gotta go, dude. That's a crazy.
Yeah.
On a clear day, you could see like 4 states, man.
You could feel that building shake.
Yes,
man.
it sways.
See, I'm not good with heights, and that shit scares me.
They have that.
I'm not good with heights either, but it's still a good experience.
Joe, would you do the
it one
box?
day.
Would you guys go out in the box? They have a box that extends out of the Sears Tower, and you step out.
Hell no,
onto glass.
Freaky as fuck.
114 stories up.
My buddies talked me into in Vegas in the Stratosphere going on that ride that shoots you up, and I will never do that again.
Jesus.
That is not.
Oh yeah, so for Imran, there's this needle that they'll basically do a giant drop on top of the needle of the stratosphere.
Wait, on top of all the way on top.
It shoots you up the needle, and then you fall down, so you feel like you're falling off the building.
Oh,
and all you can see is all of Vegas. And
fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't need to be doing that shit anymore.
I will never do it again. I've
done shit like that in my youth, but never again.
You ever did that? Because Great America had this ride called
the Giant Drop.
Yes, and they actually shut it down because somebody died, and then they turned it back on.
I did that.
Yes.
I mean, that's pretty normal for like a lot of.
Yes.
I mean, but that scared the fuck out. That feeling of falling is one of the scariest things ever.
You do the thing like we went with science class where you put a nickel on your knee.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you drop, the nickel is just floating right above you the whole time. You're free falling with the nickel. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then the nickel hits you in the face and knocks you out because it's not. You probably shouldn't be falling.
I used to do all that shit, but then at a certain age, I think I was something around like 25 or 26. I was like, all right, I'm done.
No more roller coasters.
No more. I mean, I'll tell you what did it for me. I went to like a rinky-dink, pop-up carnival. Yeah. Where the carnies come and they set up these fucking rides, like a fair or something, and those rides are fucking not safe.
No.
And I went on one, and it fucking it fucked me up so bad. My internal organs were like fucking upside down, and like I couldn't get my balance afterwards. It was just, and I was rocking around and falling out of the seat the whole time.
Jesus, think about.
And I was like, all right, I'm done. That's it. I'm like, okay, now that I'm getting affected by this shit, I'm not.
You know how much trust we put in these fucking weekly carnivals that are set up overnight, and like we're just supposed to go on these rides? Can you just set this up? How is this safe?
Dude, it's a fucking guy who has like a 2 IQ.
Yes.
Like 1 tooth.
Yes.
Like, I mean, I have more teeth. I have 6.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, there was just somebody that died on one of those carny rides not too long ago.
There was a video where it like threw people. The thing broke.
Yeah.
People went flying. That shit's
freaky.
That shit ain't safe.
No, thank you.
So I wanted to talk to you about vitiligo too, but I think I'm going to save that for the post show.
Yeah, let's save it for the
because
post.
nobody gives a fuck besides me and you.
No, really, no one does.
But the last thing before we get to some of the feedback, let me get your quick review on Valerian. You said you went to see it with your son, and we've talked about what numbers it did and how it came out in a bad part. Let's get your quick review. What'd you think?
Well, it wasn't good, and I want to preface it by one thing is I didn't look at any reviews because I'm a big sci-fi fan, so if there's an original sci-fi movie, I have to see it. I'm a fan of Luc Besson. I love The Fifth Element. I'm like, I don't care what the reviewers say. I didn't even want to read it, and I took my older son to see it, and it was just terrible. It didn't have a good story. I forget the guy that was the main actor's name. Dane DeHaan, he's been in a Cure for Wellness. He was in that Chronicle movie. He was like trying to do like a Batman voice in it. He was like, low like this the whole time, like trying to sound cool. Just didn't work. The actress that was pretty,
she's not good.
She just wasn't great in it. And the story, like you're like 90% done with the movie, like waiting for like some semblance of a story, and then finally like you figure out what's happened and then the movie ends.
It's not even nice to look at. Like that doesn't save it.
I mean, yeah, there's some great visuals in it. I mean, the action was okay, but I mean, I don't know. But
the 2 stars pretty much ruined the movie.
Yeah, it just wasn't good. I mean, it was based off a comic book, and just sometimes comics don't translate. Like, it just didn't have enough story substance to it, you know. And that's what one of the reviewers said. Like, it was a lot of fluff and no substance, and they were right. You know, you have to have a little bit more than that.
What did your kid think?
He didn't like it either.
Wow.
Which, you know, and here's the thing is, like, we're both kind of more like Imran. We're very positive. I see a lot of movies a lot of people say aren't good, and I look at the positives in them most of the time. So, and my wife even said it too. She's like, if you're saying it's bad, it must be bad.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
You know?
I can always find the.
I can't wait to see this.
This fucking piece of shit.
It's you gotta hate watch it if you're gonna see it.
Sounds
I'm gonna watch it regardless. I'll just wait for an opportunity where I have nothing going on.
And then Luc Besson's been like talking shit about franchises and Marvel movies. He's like, I don't get superheroes. I think he's just bitter that his movie didn't make any money, that he spent all his money.
He cast the wrong people. I think that's a big. I think that was.
It would have helped more, but still, I mean, even if they would have had 2 stars in there, just the story wasn't great.
There's no story.
The story, there's really no story to it.
It reminds us of the John Carter. Have you seen the John Carter?
You know, that's one of the movies where I disagree with I actually enjoyed that movie.
It's not a bad movie.
I actually enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought it was good.
Yeah.
I thought it was an enjoyable movie, and
nobody gave it a chance because they didn't know what it was, and it's mismarketed.
Well, the marketing was bad for it.
Horribly mismarketed.
Yeah, I mean that is far and away like a million times better than Valerian.
That's like at least like on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 6.5 or a 7.
I would agree. I'd say it's a 7. I thought it was a good movie. The story was great. There was plenty of action in it. I thought the ending was great too. I was like, oh, let's see a sequel. No, I didn't.
I just didn't like the dudes. Those dudes that fly around. The guy that was like those.
Oh, the insect looking.
No, not those guys. Like the main bad guys that like are pulling all the strings. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
I don't even remember those guys.
That's what killed it for me. But like anyway,
I ain't never seen it.
It's worth a watch. I'm telling you,
it's not bad. It's a good action movie.
It's a good movie. You'll enjoy it.
It's not bad at all. It's totally watchable.
Yeah.
And then Joe, what are you most looking forward to in this next year of superhero geek shit coming out? What's the one thing where like I can't wait for this?
Well, man, it's really funny. Of course, I love the Marvel movies. My wife is a huge Thor fan.
Oh, really?
She loves the Thor movies. So she's really psyched about it. That Thor Ragnarok looks great.
How much fun does that look, dude?
It looks great. And the whole time I kept thinking, I was like, oh man, they're doing the whole Planet Hulk storyline.
Yeah.
I hope they work in where he becomes more sentient, which is what he does the longer he's Hulk.
Yes.
I was like, this is great. This could be good character development for the Hulk. So I'm all in. I can't wait to see that. I think that's going to be one of the best ones towards the end of this year.
Oh my God. They just put out an international trailer that starts with more Doctor Strange stuff.
And
I watched that just the other day.
Yeah. And it's pretty dope, but like the music is so good. Like it's that synth 80s, like retro music.
Oh, and I love that music
I love it.
too.
And it's got Taika Waititi all over it. That one, I mean, if that one comes out 2 weeks later, Justice League comes out. It's going to be very interesting to see how it all shakes out in November.
Yeah. Oh, and we've got the second season of Stranger Things.
Just before that, which that's going to be awesome. You saw the first season?
That was phenomenal. Great.
Anthony,
great
you got to get on this, dude. It's fucking great.
I know.
Yeah. Trust me. That first season is definitely one of the best TV shows I've seen in a while.
Oh, it's good.
It's
and
really
that trailer for the second season, I love how it, like, Anthony, I love how it excited you, and you were like, that was fucking awesome. I'm going to check this out.
That was awesome.
It's great.
They got the Ghostbuster costumes on.
Dude, how much money did they pay to get the rights to Thriller? Like, that alone, like, that Michael Jackson music is not cheap to use.
You know what? Now that the rights are reverted back to his family, probably not much.
Oh,
they're probably looking to cash in like whatever they can.
Yeah, they're
so
like, we blew all this money on.
Somebody wants to pay me money, but here you go.
God, I just hope we don't start seeing like Michael Jackson music on like hemorrhoid commercials. It would just ruin everything.
Oh, they're gonna totally sell it out to anybody that wants to pay money.
Oh yeah,
for
that's
it.
coming.
It's coming.
Dude, Johnny Cash was smart. His estate, they wanted to use Preparation H wanted to use the song Ring of Fire.
Oh, shit.
and they said no.
Yeah.
Which is very smart.
Yeah,
that would have fucking ruined it. But how?
That would have killed that song.
This is
I'm
the
kind of glad they
shitty
did.
advertising
That was a good song.
marketing that goes down Ring of Fire.
That's awesome.
I'm glad.
That describes to me what happens in a movie theater.
It does. I'm giving a Ring of Fire. I'm glad they said no. Right on. Okay, I want to share some feedback. We got a couple of emails from our buddy and Patreon supporter, listener Wes Cranford.
I love you, Wes.
He loves you too. Here, he writes, we got two, so I'm going to read them both. Hi, guys. Really loved your last podcast. And this is the one where he signed up and we talked about me going... We talked about Lollapalooza and watching it on YouTube. So he says, really love your last podcast. I get a kick out of being mentioned on air. For the record, I'm old like Ruggs and Imran. 53 to be exact. But I'm
still not as old as Imran.
No, I'm 79. But to be exact, but I'm more millennial at heart, it seems. Imran, there is no substitute for a live show. YouTube does not cut it. You need the crowds. It is the group energy that really makes it work. Research has proved that during a show, brainwaves align. Same with a DJ show. By the way, Anthony, I love Big Gigantic. I've been listening to Son, S-O-H-N, like that as well. Don't listen to the old farts. An instrument is still an instrument, including a computer. Bands like Radiohead use them all the time.
Okay.
Then he goes on, problem with Rotten Tomatoes. The same as all internet. Everyone wants decisions made for them. I don't put stock in any reviews. It's really, they're just opinions. We all know that saying. If you are interested, go see it. It's just entertainment. Something to do, nothing more, ever. Even crap can be an escape. You guys are spot on about apes. Second one is best, but they're all great. Quick question. How come you don't review DC animated films? Maybe do a ranking. I'd be curious. Go back as far as Mask of the Phantasm and short movies where Superman and Batman meet from the TV show. The new one with Harley comes out soon. I'm taking my 10-year-old. I hope Harley and Batman don't fuck.
I have a comment.
I don't want that conversation. Anyway, I'm glad I'm now contributing to your podcast. The exchange rate makes it $4. Next payment or two set aside. Have a beer on me. Love your show. Yank from Down Under. Rug Boy, comment.
Yeah, the Batman Harley Quinn movie does feature something... Not with Batman.
I believe Nightwing and Harley.
Oh, shit.
They get it on in this one.
What? I believe
so. Wes, be careful taking your son to this one.
Hey, I love you, Wes.
I wasn't going to say it. Imran said it.
I love you, Wes. I'll just throw in Big Gigantic is actually very talented. Yeah. They play a lot of, I think his whole gimmick is he plays a lot of the saxophone as well while
cool.
he DJs.
Oh,
yeah.
Live music.
There you go.
And what about Son? Do you know Son?
It's one of his songs, I believe.
Oh, that's the name of the song by Big Gigantic. Okay. Yeah. So he wrote us again just recently. So, gotta say thanks, Anthony, for putting me onto Movie Bob. Checked out his reviews of Baby Driver and Atomic Blonde, and they were spot on with my opinions. Actually, he's spot on about all the movies I've seen, except Star Trek Into Darkness, which I loved, and he did not. I'm lounging in my favorite craft brewery, having their most recent sour. Fuck, it's good. Then home to hopefully watch Defenders. Imran, love the last show with the rapper. Love the way you guys are jumping all over the place. I should mention that I got started on a podcast from a show in Aussie called Nerdzilla. You may like them. Check it out. It's all things nerd, computer software, movies, shows, etc. They are Aussie, so maybe you'll like them. We're different down here. Later, Yank from Down Under. Thanks for writing in, Wes. We have some tweets from that guy Daryl at Verum Veritas. Talking about streaming media. He says Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, DC, Disney, CBS. The more fractured the streaming market becomes, the less customers you get. Media companies want fractured streaming because they think it will drive people back to expensive cable TV. That's interesting. Speculation. Marvel's bad art on comics caused by Disney budget tightening.
Was the art bad now?
I don't know. Has it fallen off? Has it gotten shitty?
I have no idea.
I don't think Disney really gives two shits about what's going on in the comic side.
Don't.
But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. Oh, they don't. And then Adam Morris writes, he says, really, Rug Boy, Jock, and Nerdcast would be curious about your take on Dark Tower. He sent us that awesome review on Dark Tower. Also, if you don't want to read the 4,500-page books, the comics are good. They rearranged a lot of the story so it goes more linear than the books, which jump around. And Jay Lee's art is great. That's right. Jay Lee did that. That's what I remember.
So he wants us to read the comics, not see the movie.
Yeah, I think he wants us to take the source material. I'll read the comics. Jimmy Graben liked his review and wrote nice review. Adam saw the movie as well. Had same thoughts. Not even close to being as bad as advertised. Rotten Tomatoes inaccurate often. So there's another defending.
I want to
Dark
address
Tower a little bit. Yes.
Yank from Down Under West. As far as the DC animated films, I think why I haven't suggested to review them is I haven't seen all of them.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to find them without doing it illegally.
Well, yeah, you would have to buy them. We did do The Killing
We've done
Joke.
a couple. Yeah.
Because
Killing
that was a
Joke.
big one. But
I'll throw in that my favorite DC animated film of all time is Batman Under the Red Hood.
we should do some of these. I have some of these, Anthony. You can borrow them.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I could do this whenever, but
there's a bunch.
Whenever you guys catch up.
Joe,
I have seen them
Joe,
all.
you watched have you seen the animated movies from DC, which are far better
Yeah,
than
I've
their
seen-
live action movies?
They're pretty good.
Yeah.
I've seen most of them, I think. Yeah, for sure.
Favorite one?
There was a really good one. It was like, I think it was Justice League something.
War?
It was the one
Or Justice
where
League Dark. They also did Dark.
it wasn't the dark one. I did see that one. That wasn't my favorite one. It was the
It
one
was
where they
the-
had the Martian Manhunter at the beginning storyline.
Oh,
and then
the
there was
Frontier?
like this big,
Is that the
Yes, I think Frontier. I think that's
which
what it
was the retro,
Frontier.
the New Frontier.
the New Frontier. I thought that one was
That was
pretty
more
good.
like a throwback kind of feel.
And that book is great, and they captured the art of the book.
Darwin Cook,
who draws like old school, real clean, cartoony style. New Frontier, but they did. Yeah, that was a great adaptation.
I liked the Under the Red Hood.
Under the Red
I
Hood's
liked
great.
Batman versus Robin.
That's pretty good.
I thought that was fun.
yeah.
Batman
I
Year
liked
One.
Teen Titans versus Justice League. I thought that was
I haven't
pretty good.
seen that one. That's a newer
I
one.
haven't seen that. Their Dark Knight Returns.
Fantastic.
It was
Two-part.
very good.
They did it like it should be done. Like that book needs 2 movies and to do all of it.
The Killing Joke is by far the worst one they've ever done.
Well, they seem to be floundering in quality as of late.
I just
They
don't
used to
think
be
it's
lot
a
better.
good. I don't think that the problem was the Killing Joke only works as a comic. It doesn't work as a movie.
I liked it better when they were kind of doing original things. Like Under the Red Hood was kind of an original story in itself, based on other things.
Kind of. It was still. It was still based
They were
off
pulling
some
from the
other.
comic.
Yeah, they're still
but it
pulling.
wasn't like. But again, Batman Year One, Dark Knight.
I would
direct
argue that
adaptation.
they've pulled mostly everything from the
Yeah, I
comics.
guess you're right.
But direct adaptation, like Dark Knight and
Yeah, no, not
Batman
as,
Year One. You
Yeah,
know.
they're doing more direct adaptations now. It seems like.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get a Suicide Squad movie, the new Harley.
The Harley Quinn Batman thing is not an adaptation.
That's original.
It's a far leap from anything that we've seen. I'm gonna throw it as it's basically a comedy.
Oh,
So
all right.
yeah, and it's not for kids. There's a lot of language in it,
Ooh, maybe we'll review that one. Let's review that one. Before we
and
get our hands on it.
there's a lot of like sexuality it's turned up a little bit.
Batman doesn't fuck Batgirl on the roof. That's the other movie.
No, it's even more. It's kind of, even though it's not as egregious as that, like graphic, but it's still kind of. There is like I don't know, it's like one of those things that like, life is ruined for me because now I'm an adult and I know what everything is, and I know even like the dark side of stuff, and like from seeing all kinds of shit, including like adult movies and stuff like that. Like I now just can't see anything without seeing like the darkest part of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'll give you a quick story before we end the show. So I'm out at a hibachi place, right?
Yeah.
And the guy comes on and he has the thing.
That's where they cook the thing in front of you and they chop it up.
Yeah, they cook the food in front of you. He makes the volcano
Benihanas.
and he squirts it with sake to make and then he squirts it with it looks like a mustard bottle full of sake, which is wine.
Yeah.
And that lights on fire and it makes the volcano. Then he starts squirting it into people's mouths. And the whole time, there's like all these women there, and he's squirting the sake like across, like arcing it into their mouth. And I'm thinking, this is like bukkake or something. I was like, I can't look at this. And then he went to put it in my mouth. I'm like, get that shit away from me.
I can just see you look over.
I'm like, now I can't see. I'm like, that's an innocent thing, right?
Yes.
That's like squirting like sake in someone's mouth.
Yeah, but now you see it in slow motion, and you just can't.
It's arcing like someone's like it's like Donald Trump's doing it in a hotel in Russia
Just
somewhere.
fluid spraying.
I mean,
showers.
I've gotten to the point where you think squirt, and I'm already thinking bad.
You had me at
bad
squirt.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like now I can't see anything. So anyway, I just can't see anything innocently anymore.
We've all been ruined and jaded. That's what happens.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird world.
It's a very weird world. Well, look,
I'm like, are you seeing this? The people next to me, I'm like,
this isn't bothering
it's
you?
just like porn. So we're mouth open. There's a stream going in there.
Somebody's filming it with their iPhone. They're like, this is going to be great on the Pornhub. I'm sending this right away.
I'm like, the girl's mother's just sitting there condoning this. I'm like, don't you see what he's doing to your daughter?
He's forcing her to get drunk. Like he's he's forcing another. Wow. How was the food? Good?
It was
hibachi.
You're the worst.
All right, look, that's the show, people. Joe, man, thank you so much for hanging out. Hope you had a good time.
I had a blast.
We can't thank you enough for listening and supporting the show and helping us keep this going. We look forward to your continued support, dude. You're awesome.
We need hundreds more like
hundreds more Joes, everyone. Be like Joe. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon, and you'll get extra stuff. Ruggs, where can the people find you?
You can find me on the internets or on your phone, on Twitter, at ReallyRugBoy.
Right on. And, of course, look, subscribe in iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Where it doesn't matter where you listen. You can find us everywhere. We're on the Google Play, iHeartRadio, Player FM, TuneIn, iTunes, Stitcher. But just go to iTunes, click that subscribe, click the rating. It helps the show bump up. More people find it. And, of course, tell a friend. Spread the geekery.
Jock and Nerd.
Thanks for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
And he's the nerd.
We'll peep you next time.